There are stories about what happened.
It's true. A lot.
Hello everybody and welcome to the newest episode of the Star Wars Canon Podcast. Welcome as always. We're glad to have you guys along and tuning in. Give us your input on some of this stuff as well. You might notice we got a little bit of a different format going tonight. I decided to kind of mix things up a little bit. But with me as always, I have my partner in crime sitting over there. Looking as lovely as ever. I stuttered. I'm probably going to hear about that later on. How you doing tonight, babe?
I'm alright.
You doing okay? Is it going to be one of those episodes where you just, like, one-line responses the whole time?
Only if I get the opportunity to say laser beam.
Laser beams every time. So, guys, we've got a hell of a show lined up for you guys tonight. We got quite a bit to talk about. But before we get into all that, like I said earlier, you guys might have noticed that the format has changed. The format of the show has changed a little bit. We decided to kind of turn this into a little bit of a talk show where you guys get to voice your opinions just as much as we do. So we are going to be taking some, I've got some mailbag questions lined up for later on in the show, but we're also going to be taking some live Twitter questions, and we're going to be kind of paying attention to the chat room a little bit. Kirsty's actually got the stream pulled up on her phone over there now, so she's going to be watching that as well. So yeah, we got, like I said, we got a lot to talk about. As usual, we got a little bit of housekeeping stuff that we have to address, and I forgot to start my stream over here, my recording. Well, I guess we're just gonna have to pick up the podcast for iTunes and Spotify right here. So that's all right though, no big deal. But yeah, the housekeeping stuff. As of now, we're gonna go ahead and get this out of the way. StarWarsCanonLibrary.com. If you guys listen every week, you already know this. StarWarsCanonLibrary.com is officially closed. It is offline, no longer there. And we've moved everything over to StarWarsCanonPodcast.com now. So that's where you can find this podcast and a lot of our other content as well. So with that out of the way, I want to talk a little bit about the social media links you guys can find us at. Obviously, if you're watching on YouTube right now, you can find us here. Make sure to give us a subscribe. Hit that notification button also so you know when we go live with new episodes every week. And make sure to check out the Facebook page as well. It's just facebook.com/Star Wars Canon Library. I'm actually thinking about rebranding everything to Star Wars Canon Podcast. But it's going to be a lot of work to do that. Yep,
you've been talking about that for a long time, and we're slowly but surely getting into that new format. So
I think I'm going to do it. And I'm going to have to change emails for every service I have. I mean, just everything that has to do with the podcast. So make sure to check out the Twitter handle as well. Like I said, we're going to be taking some live tweets toward the end of the show. So make sure to follow us at SW Canon Library. Here in a little bit, I'll pull up my phone. Well, probably the second half of the show. I'll pull up my phone and I'll go through and pick out a few, and we'll just talk with you guys. Also, if you want to get a question, well, as far as mailbag questions go, if you want to get a question on the Star Wars Canon Podcast, you can email it to us at StarWarsCanonLibrary@gmail.com. It's that easy. I'll go through and pick a few out. And if you guys are interested in showing some support for the Canon Podcast, we would sure appreciate it. You can visit patreon.com/Star Wars Canon Library and show us a little bit of love there. We'd sure appreciate it. I've been busting my hump all week.
Yeah.
Getting this format put together after work every day and making graphics and setting everything up so that we could do this new format. Can you imagine what I would do if this was a full-time thing for me? I could animate all kinds of stuff. So especially if you guys, like, the biggest thing I was proud of was the intro video, because you came home the other day and I was working on the intro video and I was like, babe, check this out. And I was just tickled to death that I had it right where I wanted it. I was so pleased with it. But yeah, it's I got most of the bulk work out of the way now, and I've got it all made. So now every week I can just kind of copy and paste. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, yeah, let's talk some Star Wars, man. As of right now, we are, what, 418 days away from episode 9?
I'm pretty excited with that being the final installment to wrap up the Skywalker lineage. There's a lot to do there, so...
There is. They're still shooting as we speak, But I mean, 419 days, 18 days. It seems like a long time, but it's going to be here before we even know it.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a little bit over a year.
Mm-hmm.
But at one point, we didn't think we were getting any more Star Wars, and here we are. This is the third one since that's going to be coming out, since we didn't think that we were going to get it anymore.
Right, yeah.
So now we're a little bit more excited because, hey, we've got more Star Wars, so...
Hey, I'll take all the Star Wars you guys want to throw at me. But, yeah, no, we are 418 days away. I figure we start keeping track of that. And then once we get to that, hopefully by the time we start getting into like the 200s and the 150 days, we'll be having some more news come out about future films. Hopefully by then we'll have other countdowns to kind of keep going as well. But yeah, 418 days. I remember when episode 2 came out back in 2002. And I started a calendar. I went online and I printed off calendars for the next 3 years. And went through every single day and wrote how many days we're going to be on each. And I counted down like 1,000 and... I think it was like 1,000 and 1,100 days or something like that I counted down every single day for episode 3. And it was absolutely brutal. So 418 days really doesn't... That's chicken shit compared to what I've been through, to be honest. So, hey, we got some guys in the chat right now. The Smiler's watching. When do you think we'll get a title reveal? We're actually going to talk about that here in a little bit. Kyler Knowles is watching. I know he's got a question in the mailbag that we've got picked out for tonight. And Darth Ike, hello there. I'm sure there's an Obi-Wan voice behind that hello there. I'm sure that's what he means by that. But Kyler says he likes the new format. Awesome, man. It's great that you do, man. I was hoping this would kind of work out a little bit. And to be honest, I was kind of going for like a Howard Stern-esque kind of, I guess... vibe, you know what I mean? You know what I mean, right? From the 90s.
Yeah.
Just minus the strippers coming in and everybody showing their breasts, you know. So
well, obviously, I know what you mean because I live with you and we've been over this several times, so we knew how we wanted to go about this. But yeah, I mean, we wanted you guys to be able to see what exactly it is that we do when we're sitting here and we're talking about all this stuff that gets us all giddy and riled up.
And you can see the looks that Kirsty shoots my way whenever I say something that
want to give him the laser beam eyes.
The laser beam eyes. So, but yeah, like I said at the beginning of the show, we've got a lot to talk about. So let's just jump right into the news, dear. Let's just talk about the big story right off the bat. I know with the Chuck Wendig thing, we kind of waited for the end, and kind of warmed up to it. But let's just jump right in. What's the first thing we got on the docket over there?
Well, obviously, the biggest thing that's come out is like super duper duper huge news. Kathleen Kennedy came out and she's definitely officially stated that we're not getting a Boba Fett movie.
We're not.
Nope.
That's something I could have told you.
Oh yeah.
You know, a while back, but it's one of those things to actually hear it from the horse's mouth. It's like, oh crap, you know, because and I can't help but wonder if, you know, like maybe because we heard once the box office numbers for Solo rolled in, we knew that they were kind of thinking about taking a step back and trying to reevaluate kind of what they were doing with the spinoff films. And that's when we found out, oh, no Obi-Wan as of now. Now we're getting no Boba Fett. It kind of makes me feel like I think they had one at one point. Well, we know they had one at one point. Josh Trank was going to direct one, and they ended up firing him before he even got the project off the ground. And then they put it on indefinite hold. You know what I mean? So we knew it was in the works at some point, but we don't know to what degree it was in the works after that. We don't know if they were back then were like, screw it, we're not doing it, or if it was just in the last couple of weeks. Kathy was like, we should probably not do that movie. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things that I kind of saw it coming, but at the same time, it hurts hearing it from the horse's mouth. Because if we're not getting Boba Fett, odds are we're not going to get the Obi-Wan film either. I wanted Obi-Wan.
Well, obviously, we all want Obi-Wan because there's a certain point in his story that we all want to see, and that's when he's on Tatooine, when he promised that he would look over Luke. And there's a lot of experiences and different things that he went through during that time. So yeah, we'd all love to see that story. But there's different avenues that they can cover that type of story. But I mean, as far as Boba Fett is concerned, yeah, we all want to know what happened to Boba Fett and where that story could have went. Did he actually die in the Sarlacc pit? Did he come out of the Sarlacc pit? Like, what happened there? But according to her, the movie's dead and he's dead.
Well,
So,
she never said he was dead.
well,
She just said the film was dead. So, I mean, from other canon material, we know Boba Fett is probably still out there walking around. He's just not, you know, the helmeted Boba Fett that we know and love now. It's just, he's got to be out there somewhere, but we just don't know in what, you know, what form or what state or what degree he's out there. And you know what I mean? If he decided to just go off and be some farmer like Thanos at the end of Infinity War, you know, or you know what I mean? So
I don't see that.
Well, I don't either, but it's one of those things that I want to know what happened to Fett. I mean, I've even got, you know, Jeremy Bullock's autograph on the wall over there. Richard J was able to get that for me, and it actually says, "Hey Brian, did I make it out of the Sarlacc?" And when you got Boba Fett himself asking you if he meant, like, it's like Jeremy Bullock didn't even know. You know what I mean? So, it does suck that we're not getting a Fett movie. Depending on, well, look, if they were gonna do like a prequel Fett movie, like between episodes 2 and 4 or whatever, you know, somewhere in between, I would have. Oh God, no. I don't want to see that. But had it been post Return of the Jedi, I'd have been all for that, you know.
Oh,
so.
yeah, nobody wants to see Boba Fett when he's kicking rocks as a kid.
Yeah, and yelling, "Don't tell me what to do," you know. It's just,
you're not my real dad, I'm just a clone of you.
Oh, you're not my real dad, I'm my real dad. So, but yeah, it kind of sucks we're not getting a Boba Fett movie, but it's, like I said, it's one of those things we kind of saw coming a mile out, and it sucks to actually hear it. But it does tell me that they are readjusting their sights, and they're going to be doing, I guess, to me, I get this feeling that they're kind of coming up with a new plan.
I mean, I feel like when they even threw it out there as an idea, I think they were just considering what kind of topics, when Disney took over Lucasfilm, and they were trying to slate out different projects and different ideas on what kind of topics can we cover to bring in the fans and get them excited about Star Wars again. Obviously, Boba Fett came up because Boba Fett's been out there for a while.
Yeah, he's one of the fan favorites.
Yeah, I did see that Kyler Knowles wrote out that he thinks that Boba Fett is kind of overrated, and I
agree.
I mean, that's an opinion, yeah, and I do see how a lot of people can go along with that opinion, but at the same time, I mean, he's still a popular character, and he kind of had a short-lived story. I mean,
yeah, he had like 6 lines in the whole trilogy.
Exactly.
Like,
so I mean, yeah, that's the reason why he's so popular, is because he's so mysterious. And he kind of is just like in the background. Yeah. But kind of plays like a major part in a little bit there and there. So I mean,
even when he was a kid in the prequels, he only had a couple lines.
Oh,
like
yeah.
when he opens the door and Tanwee's like, "Boba, is your father here?" And he was like, "Yep." "May we see him?" "Sure." You know, like that's all it was. So, but yeah, so I think he's had, what, 10 lines? Oh, and then he had, "Dad, look!" You know, when Obi-Wan was running out. I think that's it. Was that the only lines he had in episode 2, other than, "Dad, Tanwee's here"? I think that was it.
I really can't remember. It's been a while.
Yeah,
since I've seen the prequels.
I don't watch the prequels unless I want to fall asleep, and then I'm asleep by the time that part happens. So, but yeah, no, Boba Fett, I agree. He is kind of overrated. Cad Bane has kind of taken his place on my pedestal, in my opinion.
You've said that several times.
Yeah, I love Cad Bane. He's freaking awesome. So, yeah, no Boba Fett movie coming straight from Kathleen Kennedy. Love it or hate it, that is the truth. It really does suck, but it is what it is, you know? So, speaking of Mandalorians, what else we got on that list over there, dear?
Well, real quick before we move on to that, I just wanted to say one last thing on that, is that
What's up?
Even though Boba Fett, the movie, has been definitely killed, you know,
give me a novel.
We're not doing this story anymore as a film. They have come out and they've decided they're going to do the Mandalorian. So, I mean,
We're still getting a badass Mandalorian character, yeah.
But is there still a possibility that there's something going to happen? Do we know exactly what time period that's going to take place in?
Yes, Mandalorian is immediately after Return of the Jedi. So
boom.
It's very, very possible. That's one of the things, too, that we've been talking about quite a bit, that I've seen people talking about quite a bit online, is whether Fett could pop up in The Mandalorian. And I think somebody asked about that last week or the week before in Mailbag, I think, if I remember right. And it's entirely possible. It's one of those things that it could pop up and you go, oh,
I think I would have a heart attack. Like, I can't believe they just did that.
Yeah, if Tamara Morrison freaking shows up and he's like, "I want my armor back," you know, like, oh crap. So that'd be freaking awesome. But anyway, on to the Mandalorian. What we got?
The next big story is that while on set of the Mandalorian, apparently somebody snuck on set and stole a camera and went and released some of
Well, they haven't released anything.
Okay,
yet.
they haven't released anything,
no.
but they were concerned
that they're going to.
And the only way to prove that it wasn't set photos or film or anything like that.
No. What you're thinking of is the set photos from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay.
That's a different thing. They thought those were set photos of episode 9, and then they turned out to be set photos of Pirates of the Caribbean, the next Pirates movie. What happened with the Mandalorian was somebody snuck on set and stole a camera with a memory card with footage on it.
Right.
So now Disney has lost assets, and that footage is floating around out there, and now everybody's kind of wondering, is this leak going to happen? Are they going to leak it, or what are they going to do with it? And it kind of sucks because everything, they have backups. But in case, if they, by some chance they didn't have backups, that's footage they've lost. They got to go back and reshoot. Yeah. So what are your thoughts about the Mandalorian set being robbed and Disney losing some assets?
I just really think that that's a shame because, after all these years of not having any equity in Star Wars, like building equity, and making new stuff, now we have new items coming out, films, novels, comics. Oops, sorry.
Was that you?
Yeah, I hit my show notes. So we have all this new items coming out, and that's super exciting. And now here we go. Someone else just has to come out here and ruin it for everybody. And now we run the risk and possibility of someone just sharing all this and ruining it for us, because every time that's happened before in the past. Yeah. Man, why'd you have to go and do that? Yeah, it's exciting. Yes, we want to know because we're excited about it. But then at the same time, it's like, no, I want to wait. Yeah. Just like
staying away from spoilers nowadays is damn near impossible.
It is.
It really is.
And we've been through this before. We've had friends that we've actually gone to the theater and they didn't watch a single trailer, a single teaser, or anything like that. And the whole time that they watched the movie, they were like jaw dropped. Yeah. And such awe and amazement at what was going on in the movie because we didn't spoil anything. Somehow they managed to get all of their other friends not to spoil anything either. Yeah. So I don't know how they managed to do that, but I want to live in a world where we can go into a movie and be excited.
Yeah. Kyler Knowles just said in the chat, George Lucas was on set the day before this happened. Coincidence? It's funny, but no, I know, cause, I remember we had, because I don't think Chris watched any Han Solo trailers.
That's what it was, yeah.
Before he went and saw Solo with us. But with Last Jedi, he tried going into Last Jedi clean also, and he was like, no, I haven't watched any of the trailers. We're going to go watch it together. And then they played the trailer for Last Jedi before Last Jedi at the midnight premiere, and he was like, well, so much for that. And then you can hear everybody in the theater going, well, what's this movie? When does that come out? And it was like, but no, it's impossible to stay away from anything nowadays. It is damn near impossible. So if that footage drops, I'm going to do everything I can not to watch it, but it's going to pop up somewhere. It's just going to.
Man, I don't know. There's a lot of things that neither one of us have seen or are caught up on. Like me, I'm not totally caught up on Rebels
or Resistance. Yeah.
So, I'm doing pretty good so far, and there's other things that aren't Star Wars related that you're not caught up on, and neither am I, like Supernatural, and somehow we're doing okay.
What am I not caught up on Star Wars?
I said that's not Star Wars.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Come on now, it's Star Wars. You're caught up.
Oh, I'm caught up on the canon. I'm caught up on everything at this point. But
you have to be. It's your job.
But yeah, I do need to finish Supernatural though. I got like 3 episodes left of this season, but excuse me. But anyway, yeah, the set of The Mandalorian got robbed. It really does suck, man. And I can't help but wonder, if it was somebody who, look, it's hard even when they announced The Mandalorian and they released that first image of The Mandalorian, even people who hate the direction that Disney's going with Star Wars, we're looking at going, that looks freaking sweet. Yeah, that looks awesome. It really does, though. And it's hard to imagine somebody hating the new Star Wars enough to where they try to go and try to steal something like that. You know what I mean? So Richard J is in the chat. No one cares for Supernatural. Just finish Rebels. I've finished Rebels. I'm not the one you need to be talking to. Kirsty's the one over there. Hey, in her defense though, I have looked up Rebels season 4 on DVD, and I'm going to order it next time I get paid. So she will be able to get caught up on it then. I'm trying to get her to start watching Resistance though, because I got caught up on that today. So, but I'll get you there, I promise. But anyway, speaking of TV series, that's a great segue, isn't it? The next thing we got on the docket is the new animated series announced by Lucasfilm, starting Monday.
Yeah, that's really surprising.
Because I didn't know anything about this. New animated series airing on Disney XD and YouTube. This is replacing Forces of Destiny, and it is called Lego Star Wars All-Stars. You watched the trailer for this today.
Yeah.
What did you think of it?
I feel like it's definitely geared more towards children demographic.
And the children in all of us.
Well, obviously, we're all children inside when it comes to Star Wars. That's our hero. Okay. But I mean, it's gonna cover the stories of like Han Solo, Chewie, a young Han Solo, and Chewbacca.
The fresh faces, they said. Yeah.
Lando Calrissian. Who else was there?
Maz Kanata was in there. Kylo Ren, Rey,
Ray.
BB-8, even Rose, Phasma.
Yeah.
You know, they were all
Finn.
getting there. Finn. I think Finn was one of them. Yeah. I don't remember seeing a Poe though, but he's getting his own. He's got his own comic, for the love of God. Anyway, but no, this is supposed to start airing this coming Monday. Jay said he wasn't talking to me. I figured.
Yeah, I saw that.
No, this show is it's scheduled to come out this coming Monday at, I think it's at 11 a.m. on Disney XD. They're going to be showing the shorts, but they're also dropping the shorts on YouTube that you can sit and watch. And then they're going to lead up to 4 half-hour episodes, full-length episodes that we can watch. Now, obviously, it's Lego, so this is going to be what we call canon adjacent, right? So this is like canon, kind of like the Lego Force Awakens game, you know, the Freemaker Adventures. Those are canon. The story, what happens is canon, but not the details are necessarily canon.
Yeah,
You
well,
know what I
because
mean?
it's Lego, they're not running around collecting gold coins.
Right,
or
and the
anything like
cartoon
that.
antics aren't happening. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, but I'm interested to see what they do with the series. Because, like I said, it's replacing Forces of Destiny, which I'm kind of on the fence about. Forces of Destiny was all right, but it just kind of got redundant. Because even the comics coming out were just comic adaptations of the episodes. Just a little bit, you know, expanded a little bit.
Well,
I know
yeah,
you
but-
liked them quite a bit.
Well, the difference between having just the show on YouTube or whatever versus having the comic gave you something tangible to hold in your hand.
Right.
And take home and have that story with you and be able to read it every night and revisit those stories without having to have access to a computer or whatever like that. So, I mean, that's fun for a kid to be able to say, oh, I got my comics this week, and be able to go back and read that story or go and read it with mom and dad or anything like that too, you know. But we all wanted to do that as a kid growing up, you know, have those stories and grow up with those characters. So, I mean, that was the fun side to Forces of Destiny. So, I mean, obviously we don't have any stories like that with the Lego characters.
Right.
But we do have, like, the video games and stuff. So I wonder if this might lead into, like, a different version of a game. Or, because I don't see them doing anything.
We never got another Lego game after Force Awakens. We never got one for Rogue One, never got one for Last Jedi, and we're not getting one for Solo. And the Lego game for Force Awakens was the best Lego game I have ever played.
That's what you said.
Bar none. Remember, because I picked it up and I could not stop. That's all I ever did in my free time. Even the Canon library suffered because of it.
Yeah.
You know, like, it was just, I couldn't stop. I absolutely, and I 100%ed it in what, a week? Week and a half, something like that. Like, it was crazy, and I haven't touched it since. I did get some of the DLC for it, but it was just, I want another Lego. I really wanted a Lego game of Last Jedi. I really wanted one of Rogue One.
Yeah, that would have been
really
fun.
wanted one for Rogue One. But no, it's possible we could get some more Lego stuff. If this show does well, we might get more Lego stuff. More Lego games. You know, I can't figure out why they never did another Lego game.
Maybe because they were gearing towards doing this show,
Maybe.
but maybe
I
it
don't
wasn't
know.
slated yet. I don't know. It's kind of hard to figure that out, especially with it being shorts, and even only being, what was it, like a 30-minute?
For the full episodes, they're 4 30-minute episodes, but I think I think each episode is 3 10-minute clips or shorts. So I think the 30 minutes is made up of 3 different shorts, 10 minutes each.
Okay, so like they all run together.
Yeah, I think so.
And
I
it's a
think, I don't know.
continuation.
You guys know what I know. I read the same press release you guys read, so I don't have any inside information like I did on Last Jedi. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
So it's I don't know, but anyway, it's you know, if we'll watch it. I'm not gonna put it up on the Canon shelf. If they come out with comics for it, I'm not gonna pick up the comics Lego comics, really. You know, that was when I was like 12 reading Bionicle. You know what I mean? So, and yes, I read Bionicle at 12. Don't judge me. So, it's kind of neat. I'll watch him. You know, and Roger, that was the other character, the battle droid Roger. Yeah. That was the other one I couldn't think of. So, Roger's getting in that. I forget what he was from. Was it Freemaker? I think it was Freemaker Adventures. Is what Roger's from, the battle droid, and Roger. So, I'll watch it. I'm kind of looking forward to it. Actually, we're supposed to get an episode every day next week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Friday we get those 5 episodes, and then Saturday they're airing the first big like half-hour conundrum thing. You know what I mean? So I'm excited to watch it. Actually, kind of because they're funny. Anything Lego knows how to make people laugh. How many times did I laugh watching or playing The Force Awakens? You know, and they know how to tell a story too, because even their version of 3PO getting his red arm, way better than what Marvel did with the comic. Way better. Well, so, but I mean, it's hard to polish a turd, you know, and sell it as gold. So, but no, we'll see how the series goes. You know, like I said, it does kind of suck. The Forces of Destiny is kind of out of production now, because I've been sitting around wondering for the last little bit. I'm like, man, they haven't come out with any more FOD episodes. Like, what's going on? So now we know that they have terminated that, and this is going to be what's replacing it. And if they're going to replace it with anything, Lego, I'm happy with Lego. If you guys can't tell, I got my Lego Falcon over here. Like, I'm all about the Lego. So you're not going to hear me bitch about that. So what else we got over there on the docket? Okay, wait. Before we get into this one.
Yeah, we got to stop
Okay,
for a
so
minute.
before we get into this, this next story might be a little spoilery. For those of you who have not read Darth Vader number 22. So real quick, we got to put our spoiler warning up. Jay, let us know. What do we got here, bud?
Oh, you fucking twat. We got ourselves a fucking spoiler.
Oh, boy.
Oh, you fucking twat. We got ourselves a fucking spoiler.
We got ourselves a spoiler. So we are getting ready to talk about a little something right now that, like I said, if you have not read Darth Vader number 22 and you don't want it ruined for you, close your ears, because I'm not turning the sound off. So here we go. Darth Vader number 22. Take it away, dear.
They have released and introduced a new ancient female Sith Lord character named Lady Shaa.
Yep.
In
Lady
the Darth
Shaa.
Vader issue number 22.
Yes, they have. She's an ancient Sith Lord that apparently, well, we assume she's ancient. We don't know how far back on the timeline she goes. They don't really talk about it, but she took an apprentice. She was a Sith Lord, and they're calling Sith Lady. They're calling it a Sith Lady. Lady and Lord. You know, they're kind of calling her a Sith Lady. So this Sith Lady took an apprentice who, he was the one, he has this mask that he wears. And that's the mask that Vader has. That the mask is telling Vader the story. Like, his essence is inside the mask. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So he's telling Vader this story because this is kind of an art. You would have liked the Sith Lord because he's like an artsy fartsy kind. He liked doing architecture and stuff. He's the one that designs Vader's castle on Mustafar.
Oh.
So it's pretty cool the way they do it. But he really didn't give two shits about the Sith, and he killed his master. And she was sticking with the rule of two. So this is obviously after Darth Bane, right? Mm-hmm. So he kills her. And then I don't know where the Sith come from after that. Because if he kills the last Sith and he doesn't give two shits about the Sith, where'd the rest of the Sith come from? He actually beat her straight out in battle, in combat. He didn't slit her throat like Palpatine did, you know, to Plagueis. He actually beat her. He bested her in combat. And it's really cool. I want to know more about this chick. I really do. What do you think? I mean, is it cool that we finally have our first female Sith Lord in canon? I mean, we had some in Legends, but now we actually have one in canon. What do you think?
Well, obviously, being a woman, I think that's a really cool aspect to put into it. Now, I know that there's a lot of people that have come out and said that they feel like women have been really primarily in the forefront of the new canon for Star Wars, primarily in the films. I do agree that there's been a lot of forefronted women as the popular characters and things like that. But I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that, because Star Wars is something that's supposed to be out there for all ages, all demographics, young, old, male, female, anything going on, whatever. So I think it's a really cool idea because not only do you have hero, but now we have villain to match that.
Right.
And that's a really cool aspect. But as far as delving down into like her history and finding out what happened and exactly what went down in this battle and different things like that, yeah, I want to know more about that.
Absolutely. You know, and I'm sitting here thinking about it too, about Asajj Ventress. She was never actually a Sith Lord.
No.
She was a female dark side user, but she was never a Sith Lord. Because you were sitting there talking, and I was like, wait a second, we had one. It was Asajj, and then I was like, oh no, she never had the title. So
kind of like Ahsoka never had the actual title. She was a Jedi in
Jedi
training,
Master. Yeah,
but she was actually
Padawan. Yeah.
But then she actually left.
Yeah, she left the Order, so she was like, I know Jedi. You know, like it's still the most badass thing in Rebels. I swear to God. But it's cool that they finally have somebody like this, you know, so little girls can look up to psychopaths. This is great.
Hey, that's, you know, we have Harley Quinn, so why not have
That's
Lady
true.
Shaa?
Oh, man. You know what? If they ever put her in a film and she walks in, she's like, I'm Lady Shaa, and she starts talking to like Harley Quinn, I'm done.
As long as it's Tara Strong.
As long as it's, you know what? If it was Tara Strong, I'd be all right with it. But, you know, it makes you wonder, though. You know, you've got Benioff and Weiss getting ready to do this series of films, and this isn't the first time they've introduced a new Sith Lord to us, ancient Sith Lord. We've also had Darth Atrius, which was introduced in one of the Star Wars annuals in the comics, and now we've got this Sith Lord, Lady Shaa. They're starting to build a little bit more on some of these ancient Sith, you know, and stuff that was going on. So with Benioff and Weiss, you know, everybody's assuming they're doing Old Republic or some Old Republic era story, right? Why couldn't he drop some of these characters in here? You know, maybe this is just them testing the waters again to see, hey, do you want some ancient stuff? Because here we go. Here's some ancient stuff. Do you guys like it? Oh, you like it? Oh, here's some more, you know? And then here's Benioff and Weiss's saga. Like, it could happen, you know? The comics are a great testing ground. The comics and the TV shows are great testing grounds for stuff to put into the films.
That's true.
It's absolutely great. Some of the stuff that we've seen in the films, we saw in the animated series first and then the comics first, you know? So why not ancient Sith? You know what I mean? So bring it on, in my opinion.
I want to see them make some holocrons.
We have yet to see a holocron on film screen. We've seen it on animation and in comics, but we have yet to see it in a film. We have not seen a holocron in a film yet.
I would love to see them actually have some characters, especially some Sith.
Yeah.
Breaking it down, you know, bringing it down.
Oh, can you imagine if, you know, you have a Sith, let's just say, oh my God, can you imagine? Okay, look, this is just a rumor going around. There's nothing to this. This isn't a scoop or anything. This has not been confirmed, but I guess a couple weeks ago there was a rumor going around that there was a scene filmed for Episode 9 of Kylo breaking into this vault on like a forest planet, and he finds a holocron, and it has a hologram of the Emperor holding the blueprints to a new super weapon. Right, because we've talked about super weapons recently, and I thought they were done. And hope to God this isn't true. It'd be cool to see the Emperor again, but just, you know, no more super weapons. But can you imagine, in Episode 9, and it's just speculation. We're going to speculate about Episode 9 here a little bit later. But can you imagine the sound of the heads exploding of Star Wars fans in the movie theater if in Episode 9, Kylo Ren finds a holocron, activates it, and Darth Revan appears above that sumbitch? Oh. Can you imagine? Just that you can. I can already hear heads popping. Just pop, pop, pop. Remember? Okay, you remember Kingsman: The Secret Service? You know, at the end when everybody's heads are exploding and it's like da 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 da. That's all I can hear is just pop, 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 pop.
Yep.
That's exactly what would happen. And it's just, can you? That's all you'd have to do though to bring him into canon. Then, at that point, you would have everybody satisfied that he's canon. Then you got to focus on his story. What actually happened with Revan? You know, is it Knights of the Old Republic? Or is it, you know, a new kind of reinvented version of the story? Is he in the same time period, different time period? You know, you got to think about stuff like that also. You know what I mean? You could move them on different time periods. They did it with Thrawn.
Yeah, but I'm still kind of curious to see what they're going to do with Kylo Ren, because if it's the death of the Skywalker lineage or whatever, and they're going to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, that's what you're saying. Okay, so what if they're making Kylo Ren this new version of a Revan, and this last trilogy is when he was trained as a Jedi, and then he come out and was on the dark side, and then he comes back to the light side.
If they're going to do anything like that, it's not going to be a Revan-esque thing, I don't think. But and we'll speculate more on episode 9 here in a little bit. I think that's one of the mailbag questions. But I think look, this is the end of the Skywalker saga, right? Kylo is the last known Skywalker as of now.
Yeah.
If this is the end of the Skywalker saga, Kylo's gone. Kylo's going out in episode 9. And if he does, oh God, I heard that. I think everybody on the internet just heard that. Jesus Christ, dear. If he's going out, I think it's going to be one of those things where I hope they don't do it, but I see them doing it. It's going to be this like Vader 2.0 thing where at the last minute he turns back and he gives he sacrifices himself to save everybody else at the last minute. And I'm hoping to God they don't do that, because it's going to be just like Vader. You know what I mean? At least then he'll get his wish of being just like Vader. You know what I mean? It's just, I see them doing something like that though, to wrap, because Kylo's got to go out. He has to. And everybody's talked about redeeming this character for so long. You know what I mean? Do you think they're going to do something like that in 9? Do you think Kylo's going to go out in 9?
I really don't know, because I just speculated that, like, what if they're going to do a Darth Revan type vibe with it? But there's so much backstory from him to his parents because of it being linked to that Skywalker lineage. But when you're talking about like Darth Vader and what happened with him, every time, like when you've talked about his experiences with Thrawn, and Thrawn speculated for a long time that he knew who Vader was.
Oh, he knew. Oh, we all know he knew.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he knew.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But at the same time, every time he thought he was just close enough to getting him to say, yeah, I was Anakin Skywalker. No, buddy.
He kept getting that death glare.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you shit.
He did at the end, spoiler alert, at the end of Thrawn Alliances, we know at this point that, yes, Thrawn did know, and Vader directly confronts him over it. It's absolutely brutal, dude. It's freaking awesome. But yeah, these, there's so many different ways that they could introduce new Sith Lords, and I'm hoping that we see some more of this when it's this Sith Lord at some point. I think, look, once we get past episode 9, right, and we start getting into the Benioff and Weiss stuff, and we start getting new novels, new comics, I think all the novels and comics you see now, the Star Wars comic is going to keep going, right? The Star Wars comic could take place in any time period. It's titled Star Wars. It can happen anywhere. But you're not going to see any more. I don't think once you're done with 9, I think you're going to see a slow taper off of Han, Luke, Leia material, Chewie, Lando, Vader, the Emperor, Tarkin. You're going to see all these characters kind of take a nosedive down. And then once Benioff and Weiss's trilogy picks up, let's just say for argument's sake that it is Old Republic, then you're going to see the Old Republic canon stuff start picking back up. You're going to see novels, you're going to see comics of Old Republic, you know what I mean? You're going to see TV shows of Old Republic. You're going to see all this new Old Republic stuff, because those will be the films that are coming out at that point, you know what I mean? So I think we're going to get just this like plethora. Did I say that word right? Plethora, that's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. I think okay, well, I'll just say it in terms I know. We're going to get a shit ton of Old Republic stuff. So yeah, anyway, so yeah, new ancient female Sith Lord in Darth Vader, number 22. So, do you want to round us off with the final news story over there, dear?
Oh, it has been rumored, keep in mind, rumored, that there's a possibility that we could get an episode 9 trailer during the Super Bowl, which Super Bowl is on February 3rd in 2019.
As of now, yeah, if it doesn't get canceled or pushed back.
Yeah, so.
So the Smiler asked earlier, I believe it was the Smiler on the live chat. Let me go back and make sure, because I want to make sure that I get the right name for this thing. And I can't find the comment now. Can't find it all. He was asking, oh, here we go. Okay, wait, so Richard J. said earlier, okay, wait, it was the Smiler. He said, when do you think we'll get the title reveal? And I'm assuming he means for episode 9. And then Jay said, episode 9 teaser at the Super Bowl, title and trailer at Star Wars Celebration 2019. So here's what my thoughts are on this. And I think, because let's just say this is true. Let's just, for argument's sake, say that we are getting the teaser trailer during the Super Bowl. Teaser trailer's got to show the title. At least you would think, right?
Typically, that's what we've seen before in the past.
We did see that like weird little teaser clip for episode 8 that just had the number, you know, the Roman numerals. But it was just the scene of Rey handing Luke the saber, and it was like really, really early in production. It was like a week in. That was first day shooting. Actually, that was shot at the same time they were wrapping up Force Awakens.
Yeah.
So it's possible to get a teaser with just the Roman numerals. However, we're not getting a Star Wars film this Christmas. This is the first Christmas since 2015 that we haven't gotten a Star Wars film. And because we're not getting one, I think, this is just me speculating, I think they're going to give us the title for Christmas, and we're going to get that first teaser trailer at Super Bowl, and then we'll get the next big teaser trailer at Celebration. What do you think?
I think I can agree with that.
You think?
Yeah.
Well, because they dropped they dropped the title for Last Jedi during January of last year. And then we didn't get the first teaser until Celebration, which was in April.
I can get where you're coming from when you say that, but then again, at the same time, I think that they want to do it differently because of the fact that this is the one that's wrapping up the Skywalker lineage and the whole story for the prequel, the classics, and the sequel trilogy. Yeah, I think they want to go about it totally differently. I think they're going to make us wait.
You really think so?
I think they're not going to give us anything this year. They're going to make us wait till next year, and I think that the first thing we'll see is at Super Bowl.
You know what? I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't disagree with you. Because I know Kevin Feige for Marvel came out, it was earlier this week, and everybody's asking about the Avengers 4 trailer. When's the trailer for Avengers 4 going to drop?
Right.
When's the title going to drop? All this stuff. They're asking the same questions we are about Star Wars. Well, it's the same people, but you know what I mean? Different franchises. And he said the trailer will drop before the end of the year. So we're getting a trailer for Avengers 4 this year.
Right.
I could see them going all out and saying, oh, here's the teaser trailer for Avengers 4. Oh, you know what? Here's the title for Episode 9 while we're at it.
Nah.
You don't see them doing that back to back?
Nah.
You really don't think so?
Nah.
I really think Christmas morning we're going to wake up and Disney's going to drop, or Lucasfilm's going to drop a tweet or something, say, Merry Christmas, everybody. Title for Episode 9 is Star Wars, blah, 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 blah.
Nah.
You don't think?
Nope. I think they're going to make us wait.
Man, I don't know.
It's
you know what? That would be
installment.
seriously crazy, though, if they did keep it under wraps until Celebration. The trailer, the title, everything.
No,
That would be crazy.
I think they'll give us the title as a teaser. Like a teaser trailer that's just the title.
During the Super Bowl?
During the Super Bowl.
That'd be a good way to drop it,
And then
actually,
at Celebration, give us like an actual teaser with clips of the film, possibly.
I just feel like...
And then an actual trailer in like May, maybe.
Well, the next trailer would be in like October, but I feel like... I just feel like a Super Bowl spot isn't worthy enough for the title of the end of the Skywalker saga. You know what I mean? I feel like we're going to know that well in advance.
Yeah, but do you realize how many people actually watch Super Bowl? And how many people will tune into Super Bowl just to see that?
You know how many people are going to be sitting waiting on YouTube, hitting the refresh button on their keyboard until it drops online immediately after the Super Bowl ad? Remember, that's what I did for Force Awakens. I was sitting there hitting the refresh button so many times I almost broke the damn button on the keyboard waiting for tickets to go on sale for Force Awakens.
Exactly my point. They want us to wait because the anticipation... They want to get us excited to see this final installment,
Man,
so they're going to make us wait.
I'm terrified to see this final installment.
They want us. They want to see us like we got ants on our pants, dear.
You think they're going to drop it at Celebration?
No,
all of it?
Not all of it. No.
I don't know. I just look. What will happen? We'll get. I can see. Okay, I can see us getting a teaser, like a short little teaser during Super Bowl, and then Celebration getting a more extended teaser, and then October. End of September, beginning of October, when we're just a couple months out, that's when they're going to drop the full trailer. Because they dropped the full trailer for Episode 7 and 8 in the middle of October. So, I just... And 2 months out, that'll be when tickets go on sale for Episode 9. That's when... And we already know, I didn't put it in the show notes, but we know there are several big Hollywood blockbuster films moving now.
Yeah.
From when Episode 9 is coming out, because they know that this train is coming, and like, oh shit, we gotta move. We got like Wonder Woman got pushed back to 2020. What else was there? The new James Bond got pushed back. There were a couple more, but they got the hell out of the way of Episode 9. Because Episode 9 is going to be a big deal. I'm curious to see how it does though with a so-called boycott on it. You know what I mean? From people who didn't like Last Jedi. But anyway, so that's the rumor right now that we're getting a teaser trailer for Episode 9 during Super Bowl. I'm not gonna watch the game just to be disappointed and not get a trailer. I'll just sit here and watch. I'll just hit my refresh button until it pops up online, like, oh, reaction video time, click. You know what I mean? So that's all I'm gonna do.
I usually just check Google periodically through the day.
You know what you should be doing? You should be checking the Star Wars Canon Library Facebook page.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you should be doing, because Richard J., who's in the chat board right now, and who does our spoiler gift, does a hell of a job keeping the page updated, doesn't he?
Yeah. A lot of times I learn stuff from that page.
I learn stuff from my own page, too.
And then I come home and I'm like, hey, babe, did you see what Jay posted? And he's like, I posted that. And I was like, no, you didn't.
I did, what was it, last week before? I didn't know anything about the ice cream maker thing.
Yeah.
Or the weapon from the Mandalorian. I saw him, and it's one of those things where you see the picture first, and you're like, oh, that's cool. Then you realize, oh, that's my Facebook page. Damn, Jay beat me to it. So it was pretty funny. But anyway, so that does it for our news section. Let's go.
Actually,
yeah, what's up?
Kyler Knowles wrote in the live chat, what color do you think the title will be for Episode 9? Because each
that's
one
the
has...
Smiler. The Smiler said that.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the Smiler.
Smiler said that. What color do you think Star Wars title is going to be for Episode 9? Personally, like, I think I asked you about this the other day.
Yeah, we were just talking about it the other day.
Personally, I hope they go back to the yellow, because we've done the red thing, and the red made sense. They did this weird marketing thing with Last Jedi, where everything was red and white, everything, because of the planet Crate, and the planet was in there for 30 minutes. Like, they did this entire color scheme based off of one planet. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think it was really based upon them going to Crate and the color scheme of the sands or anything like that on the planet. I think it had everything to do with the fact that it was more dark and it played more into Kylo Ren's like emotions, and that's how he feeds like his energy and his force using, and so, that him and Rey were able to communicate in the way that they did during the entire film. So
okay, so do me a favor, and I want you to look up here real quick. You see the novel for Leia, Princess of Alderaan? What color is it? It's red and white. They did a lot of red and white stuff. They really, really did, dear.
I see that.
Yeah, no, they really focused on... for Episode 9...
A lot of the story and a lot of the backstories and different things like that all played into this final battle between Kylo and his trainer being Luke.
Yeah. Which
was dark, and that's what caused him to go to the dark side. So I feel like it played on being on the dark side.
Well, that's fair enough. I mean, it's one of those things that's up for interpretation, I guess, but from a certain point of view.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, Kyler says all the books were red and white. They were as
you were pointing to
even
Leia,
the novelization for Last Jedi was red and white. Like, I mean, everything was. I mean, Cenobite wasn't, but it's. I hope they go back to the yellow, but I hope they don't do this blue thing. I hope they don't make it blue. I really, really hope they don't.
But okay, so they did Force Awakens.
Yellow.
Because that's the traditional.
Right.
That's what we usually see the classics in, right? And then Last Jedi was in red, and that's how I felt about it, that it was more playing on like the dark side of everything. But what if they did blue? Because it's the final wrap up, but everything transitions to being more on like the light side of stuff. If that's how it goes, then
if they go with that logic, if they go based off of what you just said, that logic, right? And red was because it was a dark film. Because I remember we saw the title for the first time, like, red. What the hell? You know,
it was so different.
If they make it blue and they're using that logic, they're going, you know, dark movies red. That means Episode 9 is going to have, it's not going to be as dark. It's going to have this kind of light, hopeful tone to it, and that tells you it tells me right off the bat the good guys are going to win. If by that logic, that's what it tells me.
All it tells me is that I'm the pilot.
I'm the pilot. Lies, deceptions. So, but anyway, we got some upcoming canon material coming out this week, and actually got quite a bit of it coming out this week. What we got over there first, dear?
Oh, So, we have a new episode of Disney's Star Wars Resistance, and it's going to be Season 1, Episode 5, and it will be called The High Tower.
The High Tower. And apparently the First Order is supposed to be making an appearance in this one again. You haven't watched any Resistance yet.
Nope.
We need to get you watched. I got caught up today. We need to get you caught up. So far, it's actually definitely, it's not what I thought it was going to be. It's actually pretty damn good.
Okay.
It really is. There was even some reference. There was even a reference in the episode I watched today. It was the last episode. It was Fuel Fire or something like whatever it was called. I don't remember exactly what it was called. But there was a reference to the Battle of Jakku. And you find out one of the characters was in the rebellion at the Battle of Jakku. He posed for a picture with a crashed Star Destroyer in the background. Like, it was pretty cool. But yeah, no, it's a pretty good show so far. You definitely need to check it out.
Have there been any Loth cats yet?
No, we're nowhere near Lothal. Damn. I know, you're like this Loth cat freak.
I love Loth cats.
I know. We were. I told Kirsty today about the Forces of Destiny episodes being done, and she's like, "Well, at least I got all the dolls." And I'm like, no, you don't. There's so many more. And I started looking them up, and she said the next one she wants is Ahsoka because it has a Loth cat in it.
You betcha.
Yeah.
I love Ahsoka, but I also love Loth cats. Because we also have a cat named Ahsoka.
We have a cat named Ahsoka. How that's...
Oh, for Halloween, I'm going to make her a Loth cat costume.
You won't do it.
I probably won't. I'm
No,
so
you
lazy.
won't. You won't do it. So, but anyway, yeah, we've got the new episode of Star Wars Resistance coming out. And they debut at 10 p.m. on Disney XD. I still think that's weird that it's that late for a children's show. But we've also got Smuggler's Guide coming out this week, finally. The journal that somebody found on the Falcon of different stories about the Millennium Falcon, or people with the Millennium Falcon, Hondo Naka. There's even a Dryden Voss story, Maz Kanata, stuff like that. So that comes out this week. I'm gonna have to drop some serious cash come payday because I have to have it. And what else we got? We also have Wednesday. No, yeah, Wednesday's comic book day. IDW's Star Wars Adventures number 15 and IDW's Star Wars Adventures Tales from Vader's Castle number 5. That is on the 31st. That will be the last issue of Tales from Vader's Castle. Which apparently those got pretty dark. I've only read the first one so far, but apparently those got twisted dark. Which we can touch on that here in a little bit with another mailbag question, but it's one of those things that it's like, oh my God, I haven't read them, but apparently they're pretty twisted. So, but that's all the new canon coming out this week. Really, that's it, to be honest. And I'll pick up Smuggler's Guide and buzz through it as quick as I can, and let you guys know what we think of that. Probably won't be next week. It'll probably be the week after before we can get to that, because I'll have to buy it next weekend. And then I'll just see if I can buzz through it, depending on how big it is and how much work I have. That's what she said. I beat you to it. She's shaking her head at me. Yeah. Anyway, so guys, what we're going to do right now, that does it for the news and the upcoming canon material. We've been going for about 52 minutes, something like that. We are going to take a short intermission. And I think we're going to do, what, about 10, 15 minutes, dear?
Yeah.
Intermission. I think Kirsty's going to go burn one. I'm going to refill my drink, and we will be right back to answer your mailbag questions and your Twitter questions. But stay tuned. Stay in the chat board if you guys want. Discuss what we've talked about so far. I might be in there dropping little nuggets here and there. So, guys, we will be right back. Give us about 10, 15 minutes, and we'll see you in just a few minutes.
listening to the Star Wars Canon podcast. May the Force be with you.
Hey everybody, we are back. We decided we just couldn't stay away for 15 minutes. We had to come back and talk to you guys some more. So, like I said, thank you guys so much for hanging around. We are going to be getting into the mailbag portion of our show. And we've got, how many questions did I say we have? 7? 7 questions this week. So I figured between that and Twitter questions at the end of the show, and you know, maybe not necessarily Twitter questions, but we can take some questions from the live chat also. I figured we could just kind of stretch that out for another hour. What do you think, dear? Are you in the mood for another hour?
We'll see what we can do.
You're always in the mood for another hour. See what I did there? So what is our first mailbag question over there this week, dear?
Kyler Knowles, he's watching. He wrote in and says, I was wondering what your top 5 underrated Star Wars canon books would be, and if you would like, what are your top 5 overrated books?
That's a really good question. And it's a tough question because there's not a whole lot that's really overrated or underrated in the new canon. But there are a couple. I know, and this varies from person to person. I know there's some people out there who they're not as head over heels for Lost Stars as I am.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe that book gets the attention it deserves. So I don't think it's overrated or underrated. I think it's getting exactly what it deserves. But I do see an increasing number of people, and it's alarming to me, that like Heir to the Jedi.
Really?
And it's starting to scare me a little bit. Every time you see a post about something on Heir to the Jedi, people are starting to defend it, and it's scaring me. And if that's the case, if that's the route we're going, it's overrated in my opinion. It is highly, highly overrated. But that's a really good question. Underrated books. So ones that I really like that nobody else did. I really do like the young adult books, the Smuggler's Run, Moving Target, Weapon of a Jedi. Those and Cobalt Squadron. I know Jay's watching. He wasn't a big fan of Cobalt Squadron, but I kind of was. And Before the Awakening. Those 5 books are actually, I think they're really underrated. I really enjoyed them for what they were. Yeah, they were 3-hour reads, but there was a lot in there. You know what I mean? And like I said, Jay's not a fan of Cobalt Squadron. I don't even think he ever finished it, to be honest. But as far as overrated books go, books that I don't think deserve it, definitely, okay, I'm going to say, because I know Most Wanted got quite a bit of popular buzz when it came out, so I'm going to say Most Wanted and Last Shot. Those both got some decent publicity, and I can't stand either of those books. And Heir to the Jedi, so those are my first 3. The other 2, I can't say Aftermath, because that's one of those that's not universally accepted. You know what I mean? I think Battlefront, the first Battlefront novel, was underrated. I think it was pretty underrated. It was actually better than the more I think about it, that book grows on me. The more I think about it, you know, and so it's a really good question. I think some of the stuff in what was it? And forgive me, I have to look. The Legends of Luke Skywalker. Some of the stuff in there, very overrated. But there was some stuff in there that was underrated also. You know, some people didn't enjoy the whole ocean planet, Luke learning how to breathe underwater thing with the Force, you know, or the tide or whatever they called it. You know, that was my favorite story in there. That was my absolute favorite. That's where he learns to spear the fish from a kilometer up. Stuff like that. It was absolutely great. So it's a good question, Kyler. It really is. And actually, he's watching. He gave his top 5. Legends of Luke Skywalker, Weapon of a Jedi, Aftermath, Most Wanted, and A New Dawn. Oh, yeah, New Dawn. People actually enjoyed that book quite a bit. I was kind of rocky on it. That's another one I forgot about. I praised Tarkin quite a bit, but I think it's a little overrated. And there's a lot of people who, and don't get me wrong, I really like Tarkin, but Lords of the Sith, a lot of people put that at the top of their list. That's like 6th or 7th on my list. I think it's a little overrated also. I know you haven't read any of the, you read one, you read Catalyst.
Yeah,
you read, you listened to you did the audiobook, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, because when you were reading it, you told me that there was a lot of things in there that I needed to know.
Before we went and saw Rogue One for the first time.
Yeah, so I downloaded the audiobook and listened to it, because I think we were traveling.
You were traveling. I was here.
Oh, yeah.
It was when your grandpa passed away.
Yeah.
And you had to go to Ohio for the funeral and everything. And I was here because he passed away, the day before Rogue One came out?
Yeah.
Something like that?
No.
Yeah, it was right before, because the day you left, the tickets went unused for the midnight show. And I waited until the next night to see it. Because I had to get your permission to go see it without you.
Yeah, and then you said that you would never do that again.
I will never do it again.
You couldn't. And it was hard because when we did go see it together, you had already seen it. And so, like, every time something happened, you were, like, anticipating my reaction. But you were kind of, like, giving, like, a reaction before I could give a reaction. And I kept getting pissed off.
Yeah.
Because you kept, like, touching my hand and, like, oh, my God, babe, did you see that? And I was like, leave me alone. And you were, like, reading the, what was it? There was no crawl.
No, there wasn't.
But you were, like, doing something, and every time you did, I was like, stop.
I would grab you. I was that guy that, it's like when you see a hot girl in a restaurant and she's getting ready to eat a corn dog and everybody's watching her and you hear somebody in the background go, oh, she's going to do it. That was me. that was me. When the Vader scene was getting ready to come up, I grabbed you and was like, here we go. Oh my God.
I was so mad because I felt like I didn't really get to fully experience it for the first time.
And it's my fault. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Because you, like, grabbed me and, like, had my, like, I was already, like, feeling super anxious because I was anticipating something about to happen because you were making me anticipate something already, like,
I
about
ruined
to happen.
it. Yeah. I ruined it for you.
But the fact that I had done the audiobook for Catalyst did help me a lot.
Lyra's death at the beginning and all the stuff with Galen and Krennic made a hell of a lot more sense.
Yeah.
It really did once you read that book. But yeah, I think that's going to be, there's really not a whole lot that I think is really overrated or under. A lot of the stuff in the new canon, I think, gets what it deserves as far as ratings go or reviews and stuff like that. And there are some books that are just polarizing for everybody. I think, you know what? I'm going to say this. I think the novelization for Last Jedi, or not Last Jedi, Last Jedi was underrated. I think that was a novel that, they added so much to that, but I think it was one of those that the film was so polarizing that nobody picked up the novel. And it sucks because the novel for Last Jedi is the best novelization I have ever read, bar none, and Solo's right behind it.
Well,
Solo's right there behind it. They're both very underrated.
Well, that's because both of those are actually written and titled also on the cover as expanded editions, correct?
Right. They're the only two, yeah.
Yeah, so that leads you to believe that there's going to be more information about not only the characters but the events that they're going through.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, those are ones that go hand in hand with the movie, for sure. But, I mean, not necessarily talking about overrated or underrated, but some of the novels that I think that you definitely have talked very highly about would definitely be Lost Stars.
Yeah. Top of the list still at this point.
Thrawn.
Yes. Oh, my God, yes.
Ahsoka. I know that you kind of talked very highly.
Ahsoka's underrated. That's a good one,
Ahsoka.
yeah. That one's really underrated also.
Looking up there at the shelf, I feel like you liked Aftermath Life Debt quite a bit.
Oh, best of the trilogy in my opinion.
Because there was quite a few things going on in there that not necessarily did you have to read that whole trilogy of the books
to know what was going on.
But there was little nods in there that kind of played on had a certain tone to it that knowing those certain things kind of made you feel a certain way while watching the movie because it went back to those stories while watching the movies. So like with like Leia and stuff that went back into her past. So knowing those, that helped. And then like the one little nod at the end of the Solo book. Oh, with the Rebel Rising thing. Kind of tied those two together. Yeah. Yeah, I forgot about it. So Rebel Rising, it was all right. I'm not itching to read it again. Dark Disciple, I think that one's pretty much universally liked. Close to universally liked. But it was a pleasant surprise. I mean, that's one that I feel like you really liked. Now, ones that I know that you didn't.
Canto Bight, I think, is underrated also.
Well, I was going to say ones that I know you didn't like. Definitely Heir to the Jedi.
Oh.
But I was going to say, I feel like you didn't really care for Canto Bight because it just had a lot of stuff going on that you were like, that wasn't necessary for me to read that.
A couple
it didn't
of the stories
play into
weren't.
it.
But there were a couple of stories that once you read them, you're like, oh, man. Like John Jackson Miller had a story in there called The Ride. It was the best short story I think I've ever read. It was absolutely great. But it varies from, I guess, book to book. Bloodline, I think, is a little underrated. I know there are people that didn't like that book very much. Anything Claudia Gray, you can just count on it being great.
Yeah, I mean, you feel very strongly about her writing.
Oh, absolutely. She's nailed it every single time. She's knocked out of the park 4 for 4 at this point, and getting ready to be 5 for 5, so.
The only other ones that I know that you definitely didn't care for were the novelizations of the classic trilogy. Because they're young adult and they're written very strangely.
Those were so bad. I mean, they were so bad. Look, Princess, Scoundrel, and Farm Boy wasn't that bad. It was all right. All it did was split the film into 3 sections and then told it from the first point of view was from Leia's point of view, and then the second act was Han's point of view, and then the third act was Luke's point of view. That's all it was.
Yeah.
But it was kind of an interesting way to tell the story, but you didn't get the whole story because you weren't bouncing back and forth between the characters. It was just they each had their own part in the and it wasn't that bad. But So You Want to Be a Jedi was not for an adult reader, and neither was Beware the Power of the Dark Side. Because So You Want to Be a Jedi had Jedi lessons at the end of every chapter, and it was reading like you were Luke Skywalker, like you were on a tauntaun, you're riding across the snowy wastes of Hoth, and it was like that.
Yeah.
And you had a lesson, but then Beware the Dark Side, Beware the Power of the Dark Side. It was just childish. Because the very first paragraph of the book is 2 droids walking through a desert. Don't worry, the story gets better. Like, that's literally what it says in the first paragraph. And it's like, no, this isn't going to work. So I think, but we do need novelizations of 4, 5, and 6. Official novelizations. We do. I've got the novelizations of 1, 2, and 3 up there finally. I finally broke down and put them up there. And I think we need novelizations for 4, 5, and 6. Like official new adaptations. You know what I mean? Expanded editions, like what they do with the films now. That's what we need. So, and that they could come out. Oh my god, that'd be awesome if they come out and say we're going to announce this 6-book series, episodes 1 through 6, expanded editions. Like, oh yes, please God, bring it on, because they could add a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah,
you really could. So, but yeah, I hope that answers your question, Kyler. It's. There's a lot, man. I didn't think there was a whole lot in there that could be overrated or underrated, but you're right. You brought up Ahsoka. That's one that I think is really underrated.
Yeah, because whenever you were reading that, you kept telling me, you need to read this, you need to read this, you need to read this.
Yeah. So, anyway, so let's move on to question number 2. What do you got over there, dear?
Tracy Perkins writes in and says, do you think Lucasfilm would ever do a horror-type Star Wars movie? Not necessarily rated R, but just a straight horror story. I think it could really work, and somehow I have a feeling it would go over really well with the fan base. Love to hear your opinion, and love the podcast. Keep it up.
It's a good question, because we don't have anything really horror-based for Star Wars. You could easily do it. I mean, you've got some of these stories about, Tales from Vader's Castle. Apparently, like, I'm going to have to sit and read those because apparently they get twisted and dark. But, I mean, hell, look at Battlefront 2 with Ewok Hunt.
Yeah.
That is one of the most terrifying game modes I've got Friday the 13th in there, and it's not nearly as scary as Ewok Hunt. Like, the first time I ever played Ewok Hunt, it was one of those things where, I finally got into the cave, and just this one thing that I saw alone could make this, you can make a horror movie out of stormtroopers trying to survive on Endor after the Death Star blows up. You know what I mean? And Ewoks hunting, picking them off one by one. You could make a whole movie of that. Make it like a Saving Private Ryan kind of thing.
I don't think I would do it a movie. I would do it like a mini series.
A mini series, like Band of Brothers.
Yeah.
But no, one of the things I saw was I was in the cave and I had the flashlight and I shined right between two rocks and all I saw was an Ewok run by and you could catch the glint of the light out of their eyes as they ran by and you're like, oh shit! Like Ewoks are terrifying. You could easily do some kind of a horror story in Star Wars and make it work. You really, I mean, some derelict ship floating through space with, hell, zombies are canon. Zombie Geonosians.
Yeah.
That's canon. That virus in Clone Wars, that's canon. So you could do a zombie story in Star Wars, something along those lines. I mean, zombies aren't really scary nowadays, but you could easily, why can't you hell, even in Last Shot, the novel wasn't that great in my opinion, but the antagonist was the surgeon that was cutting people apart and making them part droid, part whatever. Yeah. I mean, you can get really dark and twisted with something like that. You know, why wouldn't you have serial killers out in the galaxy like that? I mean, it's entirely possible. What do you think?
I mean, there's definitely all kinds of different ways that you can go about making something horror in the universe of Star Wars, because I mean, there's all kinds of different stories already out there. I mean, one with the Sith and the stories that they've done with the different things that they've gone out and done just to become who they are and to get where they're at. And then, you know, all the different wars. And Anakin when he was in the process of becoming Vader. And then, like, you were talking about Vader's castle. Right. And, I mean, yeah, there's lots of different things. But, I mean, in the past we've discussed about how Star Wars is its own entity, but then at the same time, I feel like Disney tries to make it relatable to the real world, and doing something like that, like you said, psychopaths and murderers and things like that, that's totally plausible.
Yeah.
That's a reality that's going to happen anywhere you go. We're all sinners. We're all saints. We all make mistakes. We all have different things that are going on in life. We've all had a drink. We've all had a smoke. You know, we've all done these simple vices.
Just simple little choices that we've made.
But then there's people out there like Charles Manson.
I'm gonna kill that guy. Yeah, I'm gonna kill that girl and bathe in her life essence. Like, that seems like a good idea. That doesn't sound counterproductive at all. But I mean, look at what Marvel's done too with the MCU. You know, a lot of the films are different genres. You know, like Captain America's not Civil War. Winter Soldier was like a political thriller kind of, you know, spy movie, and then you had like Ant-Man, which is like a heist film. You know, you've had all these other genres, kind of. Guardians of the Galaxy are easily comedy space operas. You know what I mean? Like, you've got all these different genres in just the MCU, and they can still all come together in the same universe and work. Why couldn't you do something like that with Star Wars? You know, absolutely. I'd love to see something. And she's right. You wouldn't even have to make it rated R. You could do PG-13 and still make it to where kids could go see it. I mean, however, I think Jamie Holbeach asked us a couple weeks ago about rated R in Star Wars. That'd be a great opportunity to do it. It really would. I mean, you could seriously do some serious shit with some of the weapons. Yeah. I mean, hell, you could even... I mean, think about some of the horror stories that we've heard in Star Wars so far, like what Agent Callus did to the Lasats and Rebels, you know, and what those... Hell, I don't even know. I think this is the beginning of season 4 of Rebels, so you might not have seen it, but I think you saw the screenshot of it, how there was a weapon that essentially Thanos'd people. Like, there was a weapon, I think it was the first 1 or 2 episodes of season 4, there was a weapon that Sabine made for the Empire. And or no, it wasn't even for the Empire, it was other Mandalorians, but they used it on other Mandalorians and just ashed them. And they were just marks on the ground, and they were even like, what are these marks on the ground? And then they realized they were bodies. Like, you could really get into some dark stuff. I mean, look at the Vader hallway scene. Yeah. That was terrifying. You know, when I was a kid, I grew up being afraid of Vader, having nightmares about Darth Vader. And then as I grew up, you know, I became desensitized to it. You know, I was like, man, that breathing still gives you the chills a little bit, you know, but you're just like, I'm over it. When I walked out of Rogue One, I was terrified of Vader again. Yeah. I was absolutely balls to bone terrified again. So, yeah, you could easily do a horror genre in Star Wars. I think it would actually work really well, to be honest. Anyway, thanks for sending in the question, Trace. I hope that answers it. But you know what? There was another part of your question also I wanted to do. I think the fan base would accept something like that. I really think they would. I think that's something that if you went into it with an open mind, and that's the biggest problem right there. You have to go into it with an open mind. But if you could get everybody to go into it with an open mind and and have them realizing right off the bat, this is a horror movie and Star Wars, let's do this. I think the fan base would accept it for what it is. I think so. You think the fan base would accept it? I mean, you think they'd be all right with it, or do you think they'd just piss and moan about it? Because it's not a Skywalker story.
It's tough to say. I mean, either way you go, somebody's going to complain about something.
That's true.
That's just the way our reality is anymore. I mean, honestly. But
it sucks.
The fan base is what the fan base is, and as long as it's Star Wars, it's Star Wars.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Kyler Knowles said Lords of the Sith ending was dark too. It was. Vader straight beheads a bitch. Like, I'm not playing. Like, he does straight out. So yeah, he's right about that. The end of that was really, really dark. So anyway, let's move on to the next question. Question number 3. What do we got over there, dear?
Sam Wallace writes in and says, "Cheers, Brian and Kirsty. Love the podcast. Big fan. My question is, since episode 9 is supposed to be the big finale of this saga, do you think we'll see any classic locations from the original or prequel trilogies? Something like a ruined Echo base on Hoth, Dagobah, Endor, Naboo, or even Coruscant? It would really hit home with the nostalgia factor for a lot of people. Thanks for what you do, and may the Force be with you."
I want to hear your opinion on this first. What do you think? Do you think they should focus on, or maybe touch on some classic locations like that?
I feel like with it being like a finale and a major wrap-up, I feel like they kind of have to do some flashbacks, and with doing some flashbacks, we'll see some older stuff, but I don't know how far back they'll go, because, I mean, we saw Kylo talking to Vader's helmet.
Right.
But there was no other connection to Vader other than that. Now, when we talk about other things, like they went back to, I'm having a brain fart, the base that they went to, it was actually an older base, wasn't it?
From Crate?
Not,
the
okay,
base on
yeah, the
Crate?
base on Crate was
Yeah,
older.
that was an older Rebel base, yeah.
But the other one that they were at, too, I think it started with a D.
What? On which planet? What
That's
like,
what I'm trying to think of is the planet name. The one that they were on, and then they had to leave it because
because the Empire found them?
not the Empire.
First Order? Oh, Dakar. You're thinking of Dakar, yeah.
Yeah, Dakar.
Yeah.
I knew it started with a D.
Yeah.
But wasn't that kind of an older base and they went back to it too?
I don't remember. I don't think they've ever said anything about... I'm almost wondering if they built that from the ground up. Because I know they went from there to Crate, which was already a base. Yeah. And then, Yavin... The temple on Yavin 4 was already there. It was a Masasi temple. I think that's how you pronounce it, but that was already there, and they just utilized it for what it was. But I wouldn't mind seeing them go back to Echo Base on Hoth. I mean, that'd be a ruined Echo Base. They kind of touched on that a little bit in it's not canon anymore, but Jedi Academy Xbox game, the sequel to Jedi Outcast.
Yeah,
you go back to Echo Base. And you have a lightsaber battle there and all this stuff, but it's a ruined Echo Base. There's crashed snow speeders and AT-ATs everywhere, and it's freaking cool. I think you have to see Coruscant again. I think you almost have to.
Okay, wait a second. Let's go back, because what are the planets, the 5 planets that Starkiller Base?
That was the Hosnian system.
Okay, what all planets are in the Hosnian system?
That was just the Hosnian system. They were all Hosnian Prime.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just it was all one big system. That was the seat of the New Republic at the time. They moved it from Coruscant to they were moving it around.
Okay.
They were moving it from location to location to change it every few years, just so that everybody had the chance to house the government for the New Republic.
Have their piece. Okay.
Right. So and it just happened to be on Hosnian when they blew it to hell. So I think you almost have to see Coruscant again. They've already said Episode 9 is going to wrap up all 3 trilogies. It's going to touch on all 3 trilogies. Why not?
I mean, yeah, because if they, with what Starkiller Base did, and they got rid of the New Republic essentially by doing that, they have to rebuild that somehow. And even if it's the end of the Skywalker lineage in this final wrap-up of the saga or whatever, moving forward, if they try to do like a running start from this point moving forward, they have to have a new start in some kind of political sense, right?
Right. You would think. I mean, because, yeah, the government's gone at this point, and the resistance is what was, or the Republic was what was funding the resistance. They knew about him, you know, up until the Resistance actually came out, the series. We really didn't know. We kind of had an inkling of whether or not the New Republic kind of liked the Resistance or not, but we found out that they were supporting them. You know, so now with the New Republic gone, we got to start this whole governmental thing all over again. You know, and even if you read Bloodline, you can see that the New Republic had some serious flaws. Because, I mean, everybody had an opinion. You know, it was going back to debates in the Senate and stuff like that, you know, where nothing was getting done. You know, it was going back to the same thing already after just a few decades. You know, so it's going to be one of those things where Leia's going to have to really sit back, because even she was looking at the New Republic going, this isn't working. This is never going to work. You know, democracy does not work at one point. And it's one of those things that she's really going to have to sit back and, if she survives 9, which I don't see happening, but if she starts the new government, she's going to have to really take a step back and go, how do we really want to go about this to make this work? So, boy, that guy was obnoxious, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I heard that. Jesus. Everybody else probably heard it too. I wonder if that guy knows that his obnoxiously loud exhaust was just heard all over the internet.
He's out having a joyride.
He's out joy. It's Friday night.
Nice,
Yeah. Oh, it's Saturday night, isn't it?
Saturday night.
Yeah, he don't care. So, but yeah, it's I wouldn't mind seeing some other locations, you know, like a Hoth or even a Dagobah. It'd be cool to see Rey go to Dagobah. Or, you know, like you said, like I said earlier, Coruscant or Naboo or Endor. I almost think, I don't know, we wouldn't see. It makes you wonder where Kylo got Vader's helmet, because he was burned on Endor. So Kylo either had to have gone to Endor at some point, or that short story, The Perfect Weapon, actually was about Bazine Nettle delivering Vader's helmet to Kylo. We don't know which, though. I don't know if Kylo went and got it himself, or if that's what, because all that story was Bazine delivering a box to a masked figure with a modulated voice.
Right.
So a lot of people are assuming that that's what it was, but I wouldn't mind seeing Endor again or anything like that, you know. And I think we're going to see Jakku again, though. I think we're going to go back to Jakku.
Why does everybody want to go back to Jakku?
We're going back to Jakku. I'm almost willing to bet Jakku has a serious role to play.
It always
in everything
has,
going on.
I
Yeah,
feel like.
It's way more important than anybody even realizes. So
yeah,
I think
I can see that one for sure.
I wouldn't mind seeing Tatooine again, because everybody's like, man, how many desert planets are we going to have? Well, Tatooine, Jakku, Jeddah. Jeddah was a desert planet.
Yeah.
Like, how you can have more than one desert planet. There's only so many biomes a planet can choose from. You know
how many desert planets do we have here? Like
desert. What are you talking about? Desert planet. We have Mars.
That's what I'm saying.
And we have deserts, but we're not a desert planet.
That's what I'm saying. Like, hey, we only have how many planets?
We have 8. We're one solar system out of billions. So yeah, it's, you know, there's other desert planets out there.
Exactly what I'm saying.
That's a topic for a whole nother YouTube channel. Like that's something we could sit and talk forever on if you got me started on it. But yeah, I'd like to see him go back and you know, not necessarily dwell on him and not do like a greatest hits montage. Don't do that either, where Rey's going, oh, I have to go to Tatooine, oh, I have to go to Echo Base, oh, I have to go to Endor. Like don't do just a quick, you know, boom 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 boom. Don't do that. If she has to go to one of them, go to one of them, you know. Just and
maybe it's one of those where she does like a flashback and she's talking with Luke's Force Ghost and he's telling her stories, and it's a flashback of Luke in his youth and his training, and he's giving her like one final lesson. That'd
be kind of cool. I wouldn't mind seeing Cloud City again.
That'd be kind of cool.
Cloud City would be kind of neat to see.
Where did I leave that lightsaber at?
Actually, you know what? Now that you say that,
yeah,
we probably will see Cloud City again at some point. I completely forgot about that. That's a story we need to get to. Is how Maz got that saber. That's the story that everybody's kind of like, it's like twisting into the back of their mind, and it's just that little thorn that's barely scraping the surface that nobody really notices. They've learned to ignore. It's there. So, but yeah, it'd be really cool to see some other locations. Let's go on to question number 4, dear.
Well, you also missed it. Kyler Knowles wanted to know if Jakku will be the final battle.
Ooh, like
it was the final. It was the final battle that ended the Empire.
Right.
But will it be the final battle
of the First Order and the Resistance? Man, it'd be really symbolic. It'd be really poetic. But I don't see that happening. I'd love to see. Well, no, we've already had a battle above Coruscant in Episode 3. I want to see a battle above a planet where when you see ships coming down, there's some shit going down. Like people are dying from ships crashing into their buildings. You know what I mean? That's some
So you want to see it over like a heavily populated
area where you see some serious casualties. Because if you're going out with a bang, look, what they have to do with Episode 9 right now. This has to be, and your definition of epic and mine are different. Anybody's definition is different, but this has to be, I think this is something we can agree on. This has to be the capital T, capital H, capital E, the most epic Star Wars film ever. This has to be the big crescendo at the end of the saga. You know what I mean? So something that big, something that almost apocalyptic, it almost has to happen. Don't you think?
Well, yeah. I mean, we have to have some big final hoorah to wrap it all up.
Yeah, no, that's. I think it has to happen, and I think, time will tell. This time next year, this time next year we'll probably have the final trailer for Episode 9. Do you realize a year from now we'll still be 2 months away from that damn movie?
Yeah, and it's still kicking you.
God, man, this Christmas isn't gonna. This sucks. Screw Christmas, dude. Christmas sucks with no Star Wars movie coming out.
Now you
Disney's
understand
ruined me.
Now you understand.
Disney has ruined me. All right, what do we got over there for question number 4, dear?
Amelia Daniels writes in and says, when are we going to see Korriban in the new canon? You can't have a canon without a Sith homeworld, especially after playing Knights of the Old Republic and exploring that planet. I really hope we get to see it in canon at some point.
Well, we kind of already do have it in canon. It's not called Korriban anymore. Now it's called Moraban. And it was introduced in the Clone Wars series. I know that's not saying that at some point it wasn't called Korriban and they just changed the name to Moraban. But as of now, that planet does exist and it's called Moraban. And Yoda even went there in Clone Wars. He physically went there, and that's where we found out that Bane was canon. And where we were going to find out that Revan was canon, but they cut the scene from the episode. Revan was supposed to be in that same episode where Yoda sees Bane's image. It wasn't his Force Ghost, but his image. He was also supposed to see Revan. There's actually some unfinished animation of it too, and they ended up cutting it, so it's not Revan's not canon. But Moraban is there. Really, that was a simple question to answer, and probably won't dwell on that one a whole lot. But if you want to know more about it, definitely go watch Clone Wars. And it's the last few episodes of Season 6, the Yoda-centric stuff. Go check that out, because he goes to Dagobah, too, during that little hoorah out into the galaxy with R2. He goes to Dagobah for the first time. So definitely go check that out. So thanks for the question, though, Amelia. Babe, go ahead and hit us with question number 5, would you?
Jason Rogers writes in and says, this has been driving me bonkers for years now. I can't find an official answer anywhere. So what planet was Starkiller Base before it was converted?
I think right now the general consensus is that it was Ilum.
Pretty much everything that we've looked at, maps, and there's different things that we've seen the maps on. Right. What, like video games?
Well, no, they were like reference books.
Okay.
They were there was one that was released that, and the maps are identical except for one planet, and it's Ilum. And in one of them, Ilum says Ilum, yep. I-L-U-M. And then the next one, the next map is the same planet in the same spot, but it says Starkiller Base Origin, is what it says. And, Ilum was being mined during Catalyst, the novel Catalyst, and because it was the home of the Kyber crystals where Jedi went to get their Kyber crystal. Yep. So and it was the same kind of terrain. It was snowy forest, icy planet. It was the exact. So everything points towards it being Ilum, but we have yet to actually have that officially from the horse's mouth confirmed. Yeah. So, but I mean, everything is pointing towards it, and it's even in Resistance now. Starkiller Base is being constructed. And you can see some of the framework under the surface of the planet, kind of like the second Death Star. Mm-hmm. Kind of see some of it, but Yeah, I think right now the general consensus is Ilum. And it's funny because after I saw those maps, it's funny because I have some weird dreams. Sometimes it's getting to where I have to take Z-Quil at night to be able to go to sleep so I don't dream. And I had a dream one night that I was, for some reason, this is completely stupid. And I think I told you about this, but I was at a party and Pablo Hidalgo was there. And I walked up to Pablo Hidalgo and I asked him for the Canon library. I asked him, I said something along the lines of, can you neither confirm nor deny, can you confirm or deny that Starkiller Base was made from the planet Ilum? And I remember in my dream, he looked me dead in the eye and goes, who told you that? And I pointed at some random guy across the bar and I said, that guy over there. And he's like, he's fired. And he slams his glass down and starts storming across the bar. And like, I remember that's when I woke up, but it was this weird dream that I had, but it kind of cemented it in my head that, yeah, it's Ilum. It almost has to be. I mean, what other planet could it be? I mean, it'd have to be an unpopulated planet, because what are you going to do with everybody on it? You're going to know if somebody's converting your planet into a hyperspace weapon.
Yeah.
You know, so you think it's Ilum because I know, like you said, you read Catalyst.
Yeah, because also Kyler Knowles said some planet in Catalyst.
Yeah, when they never, and I believe they said it was Ilum in Catalyst. I'm pretty sure they actually used the name Ilum in Catalyst.
I don't remember because that was like 2 years ago.
Because it was a legacy planet. It was under Imperial protection. It was supposed to be like a reservation, you know, like a national park kind of status. And nobody was allowed to touch it. And that's why Lyra was so pissed off that they were mining it the way they were, because it was a legacy planet. I believe that's what they called it, was legacy planet. So, but yeah, Ilum. Take it to the bank. We're going to find out at some point Starkiller Base was Ilum. Once episode 9 comes out, you're going to get a lot of stuff between episode 6 and 7. And you're going to find about, look at how much we focused on the construction of the Death Star. So far in the new canon. Almost every novel has made a reference to materials being used for it, or weird construction plans, or, you know, off the books construction projects. Everything is, we're going to get the same thing with Starkiller Base. Once we start getting all the novels between 6 and 7, you're going to start seeing references to large construction project. Oh, where'd these materials go? Oh, we need a whole lot of this material. You know what I mean? So I think that's where we're going to end up at. So, thanks for the question, though. Do appreciate it, Jason. Babe, would you like to hit us with question number 6?
All you put was Tyler, but
yeah, he didn't put his last name. His email just said Tyler.
Okay.
So I didn't have his last name. Usually I can infer a last name from the email address, and I couldn't this time. So it just said Tyler. Okay.
So Tyler wrote in and says, if you had been tasked with making episodes 7 through 9, what would you have done differently? And that can be the story, the production, or anything.
It's a big question.
It's a fully loaded question.
It's a fully loaded question, and it's a big one. And it's something that I've touched on before, but I'll try to nutshell it up the best you can. And then I want to hear how you would have done it. Personally, like, okay, we know how it turned out now, right? We know that they sat down and said, hey, we want episode 7 to be out by the end of 2015. And, you know, JJ is going to direct it. You know, we'll worry about episode 8 later. Episodes 8 and 9 later. I think what they should have, I think that right there was the first, and don't get me wrong, I like the direction they're going with the new films. You know what I mean? But I think that was one of the downfalls with fans. It was because they didn't have a plan from beginning to end. I mean, look at Dave Filoni, right? At the end of Rebels Season 2, all the way up through something in Season 4, which you don't know about. Everybody watching knows what I'm talking about, the World Between Worlds episode. That was planned for like 2 years.
Right.
And Filoni, it had this huge payoff. I think they should have done something like that with episodes 7, 8, and 9, because you see Marvel does it, right? Marvel's had this 10-year plan, and and you see what Infinity War did.
Yeah.
It was just this giant cinematic event, right?
Mm-hmm.
10 years in the making. I think they should have done something like that with Star Wars. I think they should have sat down, instead of rushing, saying, we got to have a film out by 2015. First off, they paid $4.3 billion for Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, you already know, you make 2 movies, you're making your money back. You're going to get your freaking money back, you know, just on toys alone, right?
Yeah.
So sit down, and I don't know how they went about it. All I know is that they wanted to have a film out by 2015. Well, what I feel like they should have done was sat down, figured out this giant story, right? This 3-part story, and break it into films, right? This this part of it is episode 7, this part's episode 8, and this part's episode 9. This is where we are. This is where we need to get to. Okay? And you hire directors for all 3 of them. And you sit all 3 of those directors down at the same time with writers, and you hammer this story out completely, right? With input from all 3 directors as like this group project, right? Like a school project. Then when you sit down and you start filming episode 7, right? Let's say J.J. Abrams. I'm just going to pull names out of the air because it's J.J., Rian Johnson, J.J., right? So let's just say, for argument's sake, that it was J.J., Ryan, and Colin Trevorrow. Just for shits and giggles, all right? For argument's sake. Let's say, you know, J.J. starts filming episode 7. But he has input from Rian Johnson and Colin Trevorrow about stuff in 7 that maybe they want to see pay off in 8 and 9. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you plant these little seeds as you go, and you can do all this in the writing section too. And I know scripts are living. I know they change as you make the film, but still plant those little seeds, right? And then JJ can tell Ryan and Colin saying, hey, I'm going to start this. I kind of want to see that kind of play out and bloom by the time we get to episode 9. Cool. Awesome. We'll put those in episodes 8 and 9. We'll track out the path for that. You know what I mean? And you tell this part, you tell this part, and I'll tell this part. You know what I mean? And we'll see where it ends up at. I think that should have been and then when you get to episode 8, you know, Ryan does episode 8, and then he's got input from Colin Trevorrow saying, hey, I want to do this in 9. You know, oh, that's what you're doing in 8. Okay, I'll do this in 9. And JJ can say, I did this in 7. You're shaking your head again like I'm losing you again.
No, I'm following.
But like JJ can say, I did this in 7. Maybe you should do this for 8, you know, and make it a group effort, you know, and don't rush these films out. You know, true, we get a saga film, every 2 years at this point with standalones in between. Shouldn't even have focused on standalone films yet. You shouldn't even have focused on them yet. Don't get me wrong. I love Rogue One and I like Solo, but I don't think they should have cemented in that this is the return of Star Wars. This is how we're going to do things. We're going to take it slow. We're going to do it right. 7, 8, 9, right? Because that's the lifeblood of Star Wars, is the saga films. And I don't think I mean, and I know it's more expensive, but like I said, you're going to make your money back. Don't focus so damn much on CG. You as an artist, I think you'll appreciate this. There's a lost art in filmmaking, and I think you already know what I'm going to say. What is it?
Practical effects.
Well, not just practical effects. That to me, that's a staple of Star Wars, but
yeah.
Matte painting.
Okay, yeah, matte painting.
Matte paintings. I think that was one of the biggest. There's several times in the classic trilogy where I've froze the screen before, and I was like, babe, that's a matte painting. And you didn't believe me. You couldn't tell. Like all the stormtroopers in the bay, that was a matte painting.
It's to the point now where every time we watch a film, we're like, matte painting.
Yeah,
matte
painting. Yeah. Like even in Return of the Jedi, when Han's telling Lando to, you know what, I want you to take her. Go ahead. She's the fastest ship in the fleet. Talking about the Falcon. That's blatantly a matte painting behind Lando of the Falcon.
Yeah. Blatantly,
right? But that is kind of the charm Star Wars had. You know what I mean? I don't want to say campy, but you could tell that it was that was part of its charm, right? That's something I would have focused a lot more on and go back to model effects instead of CG models. And I know it's cheaper to do CG. I get that. It's more cost efficient to do CG. But the fact that you would have like taken that extra step, and hell, with the walkers in Rogue One, or even in Episode 8, do stop motion like you did in Empire on Hoth. Stop motion animation the same way you did instead of CGing them. You know, I would have went back to those old school techniques to make it kind of blend with the classics a lot better. Personally, I don't know. What are some things you think you would have done differently? I know, like you said, it's a loaded question, but I do kind of want to hear what you have to say.
Let me look at the question again.
Okay. What would you have done differently for 7 through 9?
It's really hard to say anything about the story because. Yeah. I mean, you're starting fresh. You're with a whole new group of people, basically, at this point, because all of the people that we were with in the classics have all grown up. Mm-hmm. So now we're dealing with their children and other people that they're interacting with at this point. So what kind of story can you put out? So, I mean, I enjoy what they've done. I can't really say that I dislike anything that they've done. There's certain little things that they've done that I'm like, oh, why'd they do that? But I mean,
nitpick stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me enough to where I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna watch this movie that's coming out next because I mean, hell, it's Star Wars. Yeah. I'm gonna watch it. But I mean, production, writing, and stuff like that, I agree. The practical effects and like the matte paintings and stuff, that would have been a really cool nod. But I was really happy to see that there was more practical effects in this trilogy than opposed to in the prequels.
Oh yeah.
Because that gave us that little nod, and especially when they did the Yoda cameo.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially at that point.
God, you're gonna make me cry.
I know. You watched it so many times over and over and over again.
That's my favorite scene in that movie. You know, something else I would have done is actually added more classic aliens. Some more Twi'leks, some more Duros, you know, some more... Hell, put Jawas in there. Why can't there be Jawas on Jakku? Like,
yeah, I do gotta agree with that, because I do feel like we got some newer aliens in there.
But we haven't seen a whole lot of the old ones.
No, not even that. I feel like we saw a lot more humans than we ever have with all these new films coming out. A lot more humans.
The only time you really see aliens is something like Maz Kanata's castle or a Canto Bight scene. You know, and I mean, think about it. Maz Kanata and Canto Bight. Did you see one alien from the classic trilogy? One species? I think I saw one Twi'lek on Canto Bight. And, you know, we saw a Twi'lek and a Rodian in Solo. That was about... That's about it with aliens that we've seen before, you know. And obviously, we've seen a Zabrak, which is, you know, Maul in Solo. But that's not really a classic.
No, but we did... I'm trying to think. I think it was in Rogue One. We saw... I can't remember their names. But the guys that were in the cantina in... A New Hope. That
helps, because there's a lot of guys in the cantina.
Okay.
Oh, you're talking about Panda Baba and Dr. Evison? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was more... Yeah, that was a nice cameo. It's still... I mean, yeah, because he was an Aqualish, and I don't remember what Evison... I don't remember if he was human or what he was, but Panda Baba was an Aqualish. Aquilish, or however you pronounce it. But yeah, that was a nice touch. But yeah...
There was a lot more
Even
humans.
on Jedha, you didn't see a whole lot of aliens that we'd seen before.
Even on Jakku, I feel like there was a lot more humans.
Yeah, you know, it's just, God, they're everywhere, you know? So, yeah, I think I would have added some more classic, well, we had Nine Numb also.
Well, yeah.
We had, you got to have Nine Numb, but, which, speaking of which, we do know, this is completely off topic, but we do know that our friend Mike Quinn is, he's had to cancel some appearances due to filming schedules. So, guess who's getting ready to go ramp up to be in episode 9?
Do we know that for sure?
I asked him about it, and he said he couldn't say anything. So that pretty much answered my question.
Okay, well, don't take it for granted, because he's a really good friend.
I know he is.
Him and his wife are very lovely, and
they are.
We
They're
enjoy
very lovely
talking.
people.
We enjoy talking to Mike Quinn. So.
Yes, we do. Definitely, hell, we did an interview with him, what, a year and a half ago for the Canon library. And it was a blast. We sat and actually talked for a few minutes after the interview. Even, you know, he was absolutely awesome. But yeah, I mean, Nine Numb's gonna be a 9. I'm excited. I'm really, really excited. I hope he gets a fist bump with Lando. I really hope so. I want to see him in the Falcon again. You know, he got a fist bump with Chewie in the comics.
Really?
Yeah, it was in the Poe Dameron comic. It's post Last Jedi, and Leia's walking up to the cockpit of the Falcon. Because, you know, they're all on the Falcon after the Battle of Crate. And Nine Numb, or she's in there and she's mourning Han's loss. And Luke. And, you know, everybody she's lost so far. And Nine Numb comes up behind her and she's like, no, if anybody has any right to the co-pilot seat of the Falcon 9, it's you. And he's like, okay. So she walks out and Nine Numb sits down and then Chewie walks in and sits down next to him and they fist bump. Like right in the cockpit of the Falcon. It was absolutely awesome. It was so cool. But yeah, cool. I would have done some more classic aliens also. Anything else you would have done differently?
I mean, it's really hard to say. Because like we said, it's a fully loaded question.
I would have went full retro. I'm not kidding. I would have retrofitted. I would have what's the word I'm looking for? Retrospected? Is that I would have went full retro. That's just what I'm going to say. I would have went full retro. I would have made it look like a 70s, 80s film again.
So you would have given it kind of like a grainy
Oh, absolutely.
look on the film?
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody with the sideburns again, you know, and then the bowl cuts. Like, hell yeah. I would have went full on. It would have been absolutely awesome. And we've got one question left. So what do you say over there, dear? What do you got?
Wallace Bennings writes in and says, "All right, I'm gonna ask it right now. What are some of your predictions for episode 9? I want to hear some good old-fashioned speculation from you guys."
Speculation is something that I've tried to stay away from on the Canon Library, because I feel like speculation is what ruined Last Jedi for a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And so I do my best to stay away from speculation. But once in a while, you have to indulge, and you have to talk about something like this. And we're 14 months out from this movie. We talked about it a little bit earlier. What do you think? What are some things you want to see in episode 9 that you think are bound to happen?
I wouldn't say necessarily that I want to see, but something
You
that
know what I mean.
something that I think that they might touch on is I see a relationship unfolding between Rose and Finn.
Yes, that's gonna happen. Yeah.
I see in going along in relationship, I see something bigger coming about between maybe Poe and Rey.
You're a girl. Stop focusing on the mushy gushy stuff.
Well, somebody has to.
Get to the good stuff.
Everybody's wondering about the mushy gushy stuff because why does everybody want to see Kylo and Rey together?
I don't know.
I just think for some reason it bothers me because for a long time there was speculation that they were related.
Yeah.
So I think for some reason that just kills it. And then when they were like forcing each other in Last Jedi, and she's like, "Do you have something to put on?" Clearly, there's no interest there.
You know, that scene wouldn't have bothered me so much if she hadn't called attention to it. Like, if she had just turned around and said something, and he just turned around, and he was just like full beefcake, and she was just like, "Why did you hate your father so much?" and never said anything about it, it wouldn't have bothered me so much. But Kylo being shirtless and Rey mentioning something about it bothered me more than the nipples on the Batman suit and Batman Forever. I'm not kidding. I don't know why everybody thinks Rey and Poe are going to get together. I hate that. I hate that prospect. I absolutely despise it.
You said Rey and Poe? You mean Rey?
Or yeah, Rey and Kylo. Sorry, I meant Rey and Kylo. Yeah, I hate the prospect of those two getting together. Rey and Kylo are never going to happen. Reylo, quote unquote, is not a thing. You can delete that word from the English language because it's not going to happen. It's you don't hear that word much anymore.
No, I
really
agree.
Don't.
I agree. But I see Leia meets her demise.
Yeah, Leia's going out.
For sure.
You almost wonder if Leia and Kylo might go out together.
Like she might sacrifice herself to take him out.
Yeah, or something along those lines, or something like I said earlier, where like Kylo comes back to the light, just like Leia turns him back at the last moment, and then like shit blows up, they're gone. You know what I mean? Because remember Last Jedi, he had no problem killing Han Solo.
Yeah.
Remember, he was just, it was over. But when it came to Leia and he knew she was on the bridge, he hesitated. You could see him, and he wasn't going to do it. He pulled his thumbs off the triggers.
I think that there's a great possibility that has anything and everything to do with the fact that he knows that she's Force sensitive.
That Leia is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because
if she could anticipate an attack like that, and she was able to tell everybody get off the bridge, and she was the only person to stay out there, and somehow she was able to use some kind of Force ability to save herself, then, and I mean, with him hesitating like that, then, I mean...
You think he...
I think he hesitated because he knew that she would anticipate it, and I think that with that impending upon her, he hesitated because he didn't want her to know that it was actually him doing it.
I was talking earlier about the classic stuff, the callbacks to the classics.
Yeah.
And that back and forth when he's getting ready to hit the triggers and it keeps fading in and their eyes are lined up when it fades from her face to his.
Yeah.
And their eyes are perfectly lined up. Just that quick like wipe and then back out was pure Empire Strikes Back. That was pure Luke and Leia, Luke and Vader talking right through the Force. That's all it was. That's the kind of stuff I want to see more of. Just those classic callbacks. Absolutely loved it. But, so what you're saying is you think, okay, so do you think Kylo knew Leia was Force sensitive?
Well, yeah, Leia's his mom.
Right.
So, I mean, him being a Force user would have to know.
That his mother was, that he got it from his mother.
Because Luke knew.
Luke do what?
That she was force sensitive.
Right. Yeah.
He always knew that.
Yeah. And she always knew they were brother and sister, and yet she still gave him tongue.
It was to prove a point.
I know.
And then she instantly regretted it.
I know. I really hope, like, man, I keep going. I think I said something about this last week. I really hope if we get, like, some expanded edition of Empire Strikes Back, when she walks out of the room, she's like, God, why did it feel like I was kissing my brother? You know?
Yeah.
I hope to God they do, like, a Back to the Future thing with that. I think it'd be funnier than hell. But yeah, no, it's episode 9. Okay, so I think Kylo's going to go out. We know Leia's going to go out. We've lost Han. We've lost Luke. God, it hurts saying that. I grew up with these characters and they're dead. Like, even I can watch A New Hope now and still go, no, it doesn't matter. He's dead. Like, Han's gone. Like, it doesn't matter anymore. So, we've lost Han. We lost Luke. We know we're going to lose Leia in this one. I think Kylo's going to go out. If this is the end of the Skywalker saga, Leia and Kylo are gone. They're gone. Because if Kylo's still around, you can still tell Skywalker stories.
But not if he looks at it the same way that Vader did.
Or if he kills the Skywalker side of himself.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, he wasn't even... Technically, he's not a... He has Skywalker blood, but he's not a Skywalker. He's a Solo. So...
I mean, that doesn't matter. Leia was a Skywalker, but she still had the name Organa.
Because she was adopted.
Still.
That's different.
Still.
She's still a Skywalker. She will always be Leia Skywalker to me. Like, I know we grew up with Leia Organa,
so weird.
but...
Okay, yeah, but I'm looking at the wanted poster on your wall right here, and it literally says Leia Organa.
Because that's what everybody knew her by. That's the name everybody knew her by in the galaxy. They didn't know she was a Skywalker. And you know, everybody does find out eventually, because in Bloodline, after the whole, you know... what's the word I'm looking for? The big reveal in the book. Everybody starts talking about, well, if she's the daughter of Vader, that means Luke Skywalker is too, because they knew they were brother and sister. Yeah. And then, because one of the senators had to come forward and say, don't you dare badmouth Luke. Look at how much he has done for this government, and for look at how much he's done for us. You're really going to sit here and say that he's a piece of crap now because he's the son of Vader? You know, like, so they knew they were brother and sister. And even at this point in the galaxy, everybody who's still alive knows that Leia is the daughter of Vader. Yeah. You know, so... episode 9, we're going to see Luke come back. I think we're going to see some kind of return of Snoke. Whether it be flashback. I don't think it's going to be a ghost. I think it's going to be a flashback.
Honestly, when it comes to Force Ghosts, I think the only ones that we're ever going to be able to know that have that ability were Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan.
Qui-Gon was the first one to figure out how to do it.
Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Luke.
You think that's going to be it? You think the knowledge dies? Well, actually, it does die there, because everybody who knows how to become a Force Ghost is gone at this point that we know of.
Unless there's a possibility that eventually, if something happens to Rey, because she's just so naturally innate
with the Force.
With her, yeah.
That's possible. Well, she knew how to do a mind trick without any training, you know. You will remove these restraints and leave with the cell door open. There's just something really sexy about the way she said that last time. I know you're glaring at me. You guys got to see this. Like, she is really glaring at this. Guys, I want somebody to ask in the live chat. I want you to ask Kirsty physically if I can have a life-size cutout of Rey. I want you to ask. Yeah, ask. So
he wanted to name our dog Rey, and I said no.
I did at first. The first day we had her, I named her Rey, and then I got her home, and Kirsty goes, "No, she looks more like a Hera." And then I didn't get any choice in the matter, even though I was the one that wanted to adopt her. So, you know what? In 9, I wouldn't mind seeing. You think we'll see Thrawn?
Ooh.
I mean, think about it, because right now...
Yes, I want to see Thrawn.
Okay, so
That's it. I want to see Thrawn.
With Thrawn, you still don't know how Season 4 ends with Rebels.
No, but I kind of have some kind of idea of what's going on with Thrawn. So, with that little bit of knowledge that I do have going on there...
I'd love to see him pop up.
Yeah, I want to see him pop up in this. Like, I so badly want that. You don't even understand. As soon as you said that, I want that so bad.
You want Thrawn.
I want Thrawn.
Thrawn would be really cool. I just don't know if we... like the sweaty fans would get it. Like as soon as he came on screen, you'd hear people go, and then you'd hear everybody else go, who the hell is that? You know, people who don't read the books or the comics, you know, they're like, who's the blue guy? You know, like.
Okay, but he's in Rebels.
Yeah, but if you're not reading the comics, you're not reading the books, and the general movie-going audience, if you're going to just see a Star Wars movie, odds are you don't watch the series either.
Doesn't matter. He can still be introduced as a big baddie in the movie. They set the movies up in a way where you don't have to have any kind of connection with the novel, or with the novels,
yeah,
or the comics, or the shows.
Or you can do the films separately, but the books kind of build off everything and kind of fill it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I think Thrawn would be a cool pop-up. I think almost like you think, dare I say, Ahsoka might join the Resistance? Like you wouldn't even have to like have her have any like speaking lines. Just have a female Togruta in the background, or like Hera. You know what I mean? Like you could have a green Twi'lek in the background dressed like Hera with a chopper droid. You know what I mean? Like you could do something like that and just drop little nuggets. Like you did with Chopper in Rogue One. Yeah. Where you just see him kind of buzzing around to the side. And again, I'm going to go back to it. How hard would it have been to put a green Twi'lek in an orange jumpsuit walking in front of him and make it be Hera? How hard would that have been? You know, so I don't know. That's me wanting. But I'd love to see some callbacks to some other stuff, you know. We're definitely going to have a definite confirmation on Rey's parents. We already do. Well, I believe, you and me believe that, but a lot of other people don't. A lot of other people think, no, he's lying to her. You think Kylo's lying to her? Or you think he's telling her the truth?
He has no reason to lie to her about that.
That's true. What would he have to gain by it?
Nothing.
I don't know. Everybody seems to also think that Rey was dropped off on Jakku. I think she was just abandoned on Jakku and her parents left. I think she's always been on Jakku. She wasn't brought to Jakku and dropped off. I think she's always been there and her parents were just like, oh, gone.
Well, how crappy would it be if, man, I'm going to have another brain fart.
What? There's talk of somebody like Mary J could be popping up also.
That would be pretty cool, but I don't know how.
I don't know how it would work at this point, yeah.
Unkar plot. How crappy would it be if Unkar plot made them go away and work for, like, the First Order or something like that, and, like, mine on Starkiller Base or something like that, and that's how Unkar plot became, like...
Leave the girl.
Yeah, pretty much, like, became keeper of Rey or something like that, and... showed her hey, if you go and get this crap from this leftover ship or whatever, then I'll give you 1/4 portion.
I can see it now. Like, as a family, they all brought junk in, and he was like, let's see here, 1/4 portion. And then, you know, her mom could say, try to pop off or say something, and he'd be like, how much for the girl? Like, 60 portions, you know. Look, any woman who's starving is gonna look at her daughter and go, 60 portions? Bye, dear. Sorry, he's gonna take care of you for a while.
I'm gonna remember that when we have kids.
Are you? If we ever have kids. Okay, look, and you know what? Kirsty didn't know I was gonna do this, but because she said it, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I want everybody's opinion on something, and I want you, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching live right now, let me know in the live chat. If you're watching after the fact on YouTube, let me know in the comment section below. If you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, shoot me an email at StarWarsCanonLibrary@gmail.com, because I truly want to know what your guys' thoughts are on this. And I'm going to pass them on to Kirsty. I have told Kirsty that if we ever, because twins run in her family apparently, if we ever have twin boy and girl, we already have baby names picked out for, you know, in case we ever do have children. I think, what, 2 boy names and 2 girl names? And all of them have some kind of Star Wars relation to them. In some weird way, like Catalina Isley.
Some of them do.
Yeah,
not all of them.
Jason Keith, stuff like that. Larone's watching. Hey, what's going on, brother? He says Luke and Leia. I told Kirsty that she's getting the epidural and she's going to be out of it, and I'm going to name our children Luke and Leia, and she had no say in it. Please let me know if you think I'm out of line trying not to pass an opportunity up like that, because that is something that you like. She even tried getting her best friend to take her side when she was explaining it to her, and even her best friend looked at her and went, You really can't pass up an opportunity like that.
Do you remember
So,
which best friend
it was Brittany. I still remember that. It was Brittany. So
Damn you, Brittany.
I know. So guys, let me know in the chat board or in the comment section or in an email. Let me know. Do you guys think that would be a great idea for a boy and a girl? And if look, I'm gonna weigh I'm gonna kind of do it like a poll. I'm gonna take them as votes. And then if I'm gonna tell you right now, if more people vote yes, it's happening. So the fate of our children is kind of resting in y'all's hands right now. So anyway, yeah, you love it, don't you? So what we're gonna do right now? That's the last mailbag question.
With one eye open.
I do sleep. No, I don't. I don't sleep with one eye open.
You think Zeke will pass out?
You know what though? We have a good warning dog. So when somebody's trying to sneak in the door late at night.
That's happened once.
Hey, Larone or Kyler says I might steal that, and Larone says you got to do it no matter what. So far, 2 for me, 1 for you, dear. Or actually, none for you. Well, you count. Do you get to vote for yourself? Are we gonna be able to vote? I'm gonna put a poll out on Facebook. So here's what you guys do: go over to our Facebook page once this broadcast is done. Now, let's just say tomorrow, because tomorrow I'll put the poll up. I'm going to put a poll up on Facebook, and I'm going to let it go for a week. And I want you guys to let me know if you think that is something that we need to do. If we have twin boy and girl, have to name them Luke and Leia. So keep an eye out for that. But that was our last mailbag question. So what we're going to do is for the rest of the show, I think just for a couple minutes, because we've been going for quite a while, I think we're going to take a couple of your questions in the live chat. So go ahead and start dropping them in there if you guys got any questions for us. And, babe, I was Resistance. I want to talk about Resistance for a minute because I know you haven't watched it yet, right?
Yeah.
We're going to probably watch it tomorrow at some point.
Probably.
So, coming from somebody who has not watched Resistance yet, what are some of your expectations kind of going into it?
I see it taking place at the beginning of the Resistance. Like, they know about the First Order. And it's an introduction to some of these characters that are young, new, and upcomers. And they see that there's an issue going on in the galaxy, and they want to fight it. Mm-hmm. They see it as a threat in the galaxy, and they want to fight this. And they want to go out and do something good. They want to fight for their right and, I mean, just do the right thing.
Do the right thing. So that's kind of what you're expecting out of the show, kind of going into it?
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, like, you're going to have characters that are diehard, let's do the right thing. You're going to have characters that are going to waver and question on that line from time to time. I'm doing the right thing, but I got to do this bad thing in order to do the right thing. Mm-hmm. You're going to have characters that are the comedic relief. I mean, you have that in Star Wars no matter where you go.
Right. And they're focusing more on that nowadays, too, with the whole kind of moral gray area, like what you were talking about. So
I think the only thing that might mess with me a little bit is the animation style.
You get over it. You get used to it pretty quick. You really do. Because I'm 4 episodes in now, and I'm pretty much used to it. Like, and some of the animation is very precise. I'll say that much too, because the episode I just watched today, there was one instance where BB-8 was talking to Kaz, and he rolled backward just a little bit, and there was like a little ledge that he had to kind of like bump up onto, and you can actually see him physically go dunk, like you can actually see him like clunk and bump up onto it like a ball would. So the animation is very precise. Like, it's actually, you get used to it pretty quick, but it does still have the same kind of cartoony, kind of like stretch out real quick, like and like the whole, and you know how cartoon characters do. Don't make me do it again. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it again. So all right, well, tomorrow we are going to be watching Star Wars Resistance. I think I'm going to get you completely caught up. I might just turn this TV around and we can sit in here and watch it because I can't take it out there. Not going to be able to do it. So I think that's what we're going to end up doing. And we're going to get you caught up on Rebels as quickly as possible so that we can actually talk. I don't have to like bounce around the spoiler anymore. Like, everybody in the chat right now knows how Rebels 4 season 4 ends, and I can't say anything because of you.
You guys love me.
Because of you. Somebody ruin it for her so I can talk about it.
No, don't.
Yes, please. So, actually, I think, okay, so I did do a bad thing to you one time. Because I was talking about Supernatural earlier. This was, I think, earlier this year. I think it was when season 4 had just ended. And I don't remember, you might not even remember what all I said, but you ruined the fact that Castiel was coming back in Supernatural for me.
Oops.
You ruined that because you remember he quote unquote dies at the end of the season before, and I was like, "What do you mean he's coming back?" And I was so pissed off that I sent you 4 messages, and 2 of them were spoilers for the end of season 4 of Rebels, and 2 of them were complete lies. Like I was so pissed off. I was just like, "Screw you! This happens and this happens. Oh, this happens too and this happens too." And she's like, "Why would you do that? That was really mean." And I was like, "You ruined it for me. I ruined it for you." But I didn't actually ruin a whole lot. I ruined a couple things, but I don't think you even remember what I said.
You should still feel bad.
I don't feel bad because you started it, and
I didn't realize what I did.
I know.
It was the crossover episode.
No, it was the Scooby episode.
Yeah, the crossover with Scooby, which is it really canon in their universe?
Yes. Oh, in the Scooby universe?
And I didn't know that.
Is this the Scooby-Doo canon library? No, it is not. It is the Star Wars canon library.
Well, okay, and I understand that, but for argument's sake and what you're talking about.
Yes, it's canon.
I didn't realize that it was actually going to be considered canon and that you were actually going to be upset because I didn't know. It was a cartoon version of Supernatural with Scooby-Doo, and I didn't realize that it was going to be like a legitimate thing, and I forgot what happened to Castiel in the last episode, in the last season. Well, yeah.
So
You're making me out to sound like an asshole who just ruins everything, and I'm not.
You do. You ruin everything.
No.
I'm just kidding. I love you, dear.
You
hey,
should.
Kyler Knowles is watching. He says, Luke novel with Ahsoka after episode 6. What do you think? Well, you don't read the books. What am I asking you? Yeah, I'd love to have a Luke novel with Ahsoka. You know, and honestly, look, Kyler, I'm actually kind of shocked that they didn't put Luke at the end of season 4 of Rebels. I'm actually really shocked that he wasn't there when you see Ahsoka, and you know, and she comes up with the hood on and everything, and I'm honestly shocked you didn't see Luke walk up next to her like they were getting ready to go out and do this this big thing for the Jedi. Like, I'm honestly shocked. And for a novel, oh hell yeah. And I think something like that, those two have to meet at some point. With Ahsoka being Anakin's apprentice, she has to meet Luke at some point. With them both being Jedi, quote unquote Jedi, because Ahsoka's no Jedi, you know, they have to meet at some point, wouldn't you think? Because she could even tell Luke, Anakin was like this. This is how Anakin trained me. This is, you know what I mean? I
feel like she wants to forget about all that, though, because she's no Jedi. She doesn't want to remember the ways that the Jedi taught her. She's now well-versed in her own ways and her own methods of how she goes about doing things. The way her tactics are with her lightsabers and dueling her lightsabers and her meditations and different things like that.
Right, the kind of code that she lives by at this point.
Yeah, it's her own code, and nobody else has ever lived by that.
Well, look, and they're not canon. Grey Jedi, they're not canon. But would you say she's the closest thing to a Grey Jedi that we've had so far? You think?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I would love to have a novel with those two. I think once 9 comes out, we're gonna get a lot of that stuff.
Well, I mean, honestly,
really
that's the biggest reason why I like the character of Ahsoka so much, because she's that one character that's really on the fence of dark and light and knowing, and it's hard to explain, but
right. No, I know what you mean.
She's on both sides, and I don't know, it's a really hard thing to explain, but I just like her so much because she's seen both sides. She's had the battles with Maul. She's had the battles with Vader, and she's
been through the whole Clone War.
Yeah, I mean, she's been through so many different battles and so many different wars and been on the forefront with so many different characters that she literally, honestly, I would say that she's probably she's right up there with Luke. In experience, yeah, and if anything, she's more experienced than Luke because...
Oh, by the end of Return of the Jedi? Oh, yeah. She's definitely more experienced than Luke at that point. She's actually had formal training. Luke didn't.
Right.
I mean, the only formal training Luke ever received was from Yoda. I mean, official, full-blown Jedi training. That was Yoda. And how long was he on Dagobah? Couldn't have been that long. It's one of those things where it's... How long was Han and Leia running away from the Empire out in the asteroid field before they went to Bespin? That's how long Luke was on Dagobah. It's one of those things where, like in Last Jedi, I love Last Jedi, but you have to sit there and wonder, how did the time periods work? Because the Resistance was being chased by the First Order for what? 12 hours. They had 12 hours of fuel, but Rey was on Ahch-To for 3 days with Luke. Like, it just, some of the time periods don't really match up. You know what I mean? Even in certain films.
Yeah, but I mean, when you talk about like physics and
hyperspace travel
cosmology
and,
and different things like that, that kind of, I mean, yeah, but all that shit goes out the window.
Well, yeah, 'cause, I mean, hyperspace, faster than light travel is physically impossible for anything living, because the faster you go, the closer to the speed of light you get, the more your mass increases, and the more it takes to project you. It's actually physically impossible to go faster than the speed of light. But Kyler Knowles said Star Wars fans would have freaked out if that had happened, if Luke had walked up next to her. I agree. I would have lost my shit. I would have completely lost my... you would have... When I watched that episode, you would have heard me screaming in the office. You would have heard me screaming. Like, it would have been insane. And he says, and they both have to meet in that 30 years at least once. I think once episode 9 comes out, we're going to get a lot of stuff where it's between 6 and 7. We're going to get a lot more of what Luke was up to. I want to see Luke and Ben running around the galaxy together. You know, when Ben was still a Jedi. Yeah. I want to see Luke's Jedi Order. I want to see what happened. Like, there's so much you have to cover.
Kyler Knowles also said, do you think that Luke ever wrote a journal like Obi-Wan? And I'm kind of wondering if he doesn't have a good point, because the Jedi books that he had in the Tree of Knowledge.
The Sacred Jedi texts.
Yes. Yeah. And he doesn't know it, but the tree burned.
But the books weren't in it.
Right. And Rey had the books. What if one of those books
is the journal of Luke Skywalker?
Is a journal that he had, that he wrote during certain feats, like certain things that he had to experience, and he kept it in there with those texts because he was the only person left. He was the last Jedi to be able to train and different things like that. And so with those experiences, he felt like he needed to write it down.
It's possible. Part of me wants to say no, he would have probably left that part of his life behind, because he was leaving everything. He just walked away from everything. But at the same time, if you look at his hut, he was surrounding himself with these force objects, like the compass from Battlefront. You know, he had the Kyber crystal from Vader. You know, the red Kyber crystal on the suede cord. So he did keep mementos around, but it's very possible that he wrote a journal.
Honestly, I think it's highly possible that he could have, because look at all these other things that are coming out. The Smugglers one is coming out. There was another one. What was it? That's like a journal-esque.
I know Smuggler's Guide's coming out, but I think that's the only one.
No, there was another one, because that one's on the Falcon, and there's another one. I can't remember what you said it was, but there's another journal-esque.
Oh, it was in the comics. In the comics, Luke found Obi-Wan's journal.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, and that's where you get the story of Yoda, that like 6-issue story arc with Yoda pre-Phantom Menace. Because it never called Yoda by name, it just said a Jedi Master. And Luke's reading it like, oh my god, he must have been such a giant Jedi Master or something like that. And it was actually Yoda the whole time. Stuff like that. But, yeah, no, I would have, yeah.
I mean, either way, yeah, no, I think it's very highly possible, because you can either cover the topic and do a story arc, or you can come out and you can do a journal where it's a first person and somebody's reading it and they're gaining this knowledge from reading a first person story and putting themselves in their shoes. Much like they want us to do when we read these novels. They want us to put ourselves in these characters' shoes. Right. When we are reading these novels, so that way we know what's going on in this universe.
Well, the journal thing, I forgot where I was going to go with it for a second. No, I think he did. The journals, there's a part in one of the Poe Dameron comics that was post Last Jedi where 3PO is actually talking to Rey, and he's interpreting part of one of the books to her in the comic. And if I remember right, it says something along the lines of, and I don't remember, forgive me because I don't remember exactly what it said. But if I remember right, 3PO read it, and it says something along the lines of, without light, you can't have dark, and without dark, you can't have light. So both have to exist simultaneously.
Oh, yeah, they have to balance each other.
So I can't help but wonder if she's going to take those journals and start... You know she's going to start a new Jedi Order. That's obvious, right? I think she's going to start a Jedi Order that doesn't focus specifically on one or the other. I think it's going to be this thing where it's the combination